hello, welcome back. It's time for a bit of talking bollocks. Yes! It's a bit of bollocks. Get some bollocks in your ears. Yes, my name is Yes. I've said yes enough. It is Howard H. Smith. I am lead singer of Acid Rain UK thrash band. You can get us at acidrain.co.uk, Acid Rain UKAC on Twitter, on Facebook, keithplatt.co.uk, Keith Platt on Twitter, on Facebook. That's me doing stand-up. That's me doing the band. And here is the podcast. The lovely, the beautiful Talking Bollocks, Get Some Bollocks in Your Ears, is here for you once again. But so nearly it wasn't. Oh yes. About this far into the original intro, when I originally tried to do this podcast back on Friday, it is now Tuesday. On Friday, the laptop went down and it's never been back since. I am recording this on a tiny little old Windows tablet, which I'm expecting to crash any minute. There is only 1 gig of space on the hard drive, despite the fact there's hardly anything on it. I don't know where the fucking data is, but anyway. Hopefully I can get, I've had to get Pete from the band has managed to convert all of the large WAV files that I record because that's how they get recorded for interviews, and I've converted them. He's converted them down to MP3s for me to send back, so I've got room on this fucking thing to actually pull this off. So anyway, let's see if we can get this shit on the road. Hey, let's just forget about moaning about technology and all that crap, and let's get on with life. So, what's been going on? Quite a lot, but there is no place to start. There is absolutely no place to start other than my mate Andy Sneap is in Judas Priest. How mad is that? Honestly, as soon as I heard, I was straight on WhatsApp to him, and we were messaging away like a couple of kids. He is, I mean, I'm so pleased with him. I've known Andy for over 30 years. Apologies if I've told this story, before, but you can hear it again. It's a good story. Tough shit. Okay? Well, it is what it is. Anyway, I was a guest, a surprise guest, because the whole thing was a surprise. Andy Sneap's surprise 18th birthday party. First night met Lawnmower Death. First night, we played with Death Angel the following day in the Astoria. So we kind of went via Nottingham, went to the party, all crashed in the van, and then went to the gig. Well, we didn't all crash in the van. That's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But anyway, Andy and I actually started writing to each other, I think before either of our albums were out. You know, we both knew we'd been signed. We both knew who we were. He was the main man in Sabbath. I seem to be the main man in Acid Rain. Main man as in, like, you know, from a business organising, etc. point of view. And we bonded straight away over that. In fact, before the word bonded even meant what it does now, back then it was just perv stuff. But now, you know, you can bond all the time. Bonding is fine. Bonding back then was specifically, the preserve of pieces of wood that you would bond together using glue. Good old-fashioned male glue. Now that sounds completely wrong. Sticking bits of wood together with male glue is, it's just, no, copy decks. Oh, horrible. Anyway, tangent fans, one early for you. So we've always had this kind of dialogue, and we've stayed in touch over the years. And then to be having this conversation with him whereby he is in Judas Priest, for fuck's sake, it's just insane. It is just absolutely insane. But awesome, insanely awesome. And just really, really, really pleased for him. Talked about a lot of stuff. He told me a lot of interesting stuff about how it's all come about and everything else, which I can't go into. But needless to say, he got straight in there for the guest list. We'll be looking to get Andy and the metal god that is Rob Halford on the podcast. Because that's the only way I'm going to get anywhere. It's clinging on to the coattails of people that I know who are more successful than me. So, hopefully that's a route to go down. But yeah, just incredibly pleased for Andy. It's fucking amazing. I'm not going to say it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, because there are lots of people I know who are nicer than Andy. No, I'm only joking. No, I mean, it thoroughly deserved. He'll do an awesome job. He'll be ultimately professional. He's the man. He's the absolute man for that job, and it is awesome. Although, admittedly, KK Downing has come out and use this as a little bit of a throwing toys out of pram session for him about, I wasn't asked back in. It's like, well, dude, you did leave 7 years ago. And when you leave a band, whether you are, apparently he is still legally a member and all the rest of it, but when you leave a band, people, it's, the only way I can describe it is very much like, you can be work friends with people. And I say this all the time, but, listening to this, how many of you over the years have collected work friends that you still consider friends and are into, and I don't just mean on social fucking media, but people that are in your life that you'll go for a beer with and stuff like that, who you once worked with. It's a very small number, because invariably, all you've got in common is work. You come from different parts of wherever it is, you don't live in each other. It's another version of school. It's like school friends. You leave school, you drift apart from your school friends. If you're not from that area or whatever. I'm fucking getting so complicated here. The point I'm making is that, like I said, you can have somebody who's really great mate at work, but then when they leave work, it just seems harder to somehow find time to associate, harder to find time to just be friends, and they go by the wayside. And it's the same with bands, except with bands, there's more of a kind of like, when people leave a job, it's like, oh yeah, fair enough. But when people leave a band, no matter how it goes, there's always going to be some kind of, whatever, fuck off. Because it's the dissolving of a relationship that is more than just a working relationship. I know people say, like being in a band is like being married. No, it's not. It's like being married to 4 other people. It's like polygamy. It's not like being married. And so hence there is that kind of emotional kind of reaction that is kind of, I suppose, to be expected from KK. I'm not calling him out. I'm saying, like, it's just he's come out and said that he's surprised that he wasn't asked back in. I'm surprised he's surprised. Cause it is a little bit like, well, once you've poked somebody in the eye, they're never going to ask you to come back and poke the other eye, are they? That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? That is some sort of twisted talking bollocks logic there. It sort of makes sense while not making sense at all. Well, anyway, look, let me close off this opening saga with, I'm very pleased for my mate Andy. All right, that is awesome. And so what else happened? What else happened? I'm now replacing the A in happened with E. Happen. Oh, did it so happen that we were to do this evening? Anyway, I bumped into Bruce again. Mr. Dickinson, lead singer of popular beat combo Iron Maiden. And it's amazing. I mean, I've obviously explained the first time I met him and what a shit show it was. And the weird thing is, this time I saw him and literally I looked up and just thought, oh, it's that arsehole again. And that was it. I was literally like, full on, I'm going to meet one of my heroes when I met him a few weeks ago and he turned out to be a dick. And all of that excitement, all of that, sort of worship, if you like, gone. Absolutely gone. I just saw him and just thought, it's him again. And walked past him and carried on doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I just remember thinking, well, that's the end of that then. Yeah, guess it is. So, amazing. First time I met him, thought, wow, incredible. Couple of weeks later, I'm like, that dick again. See, that dick's shown up. Anyway, now look, I might be a little bit late to the party on what I'm going to talk to you about now. Oh, actually, no, I'll mention that in a bit. So what else has been going on in the world of heavy metal? James Hetfield is going to be acting in the movie Extremely Wicked, Shocking, Evil and Vile. That's not a review, apparently, that's what it's called. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. So, not a review of some kind of monster. But however, this movie is directed by Joe Berlinger, one of the co-directors from Some Kind of Monster. The other one, of course, who unfortunately has since died. So Hetfield has decided he's going for it. He's getting his acting chops on, you know. He's done the old voiceover for the porn documentary, Is Porn an Addiction? Which, you know, it isn't, and I was really saddened by Mr. Hetfield's lending of voice talents to that, but anyway. So yeah, he's moving into acting and using his connections, and I just think it's interesting. You know, is that something that later in life, because he's done a few, cameos and stuff like that, and then he did some voice acting on, American Dad, but this is the first actual proper acting. I'm just wondering, you know, if this is something he's thinking of moving into in the future or doing more of. Yeah, maybe that'd be quite interesting. Having said that, on the flip side of that Metallica coin, Lars has been making it clear that he's, I quote, not interested in ability. Well, right, okay. All drumming in time, apparently, according to several people who went to see Metallica at the O2 in London on the last tour, song having to be stopped. In fact, it was Malcolm Dome who mentioned it on the Christmas specials. You know, James Hetfield having to stop the song and say, Lars, pick a time and we'll play it in that. Yeah, there is not being concerned with ability, and there is failing to play the songs in time. And when people have spent over £100 each, I'm sorry, I think that takes priority. I think you need to be looking, Lars, at some ability. Yeah? Because you've got very little, so you probably need to practice more than someone, say, like, I don't know, Dave Lombardo, or Dave Grohl, or any other Daves out there, any other drumming Daves out there. Of course, now I'm trying to think, because of my twisted brain, I'm now trying to think of a load of drummers called Dave. And I'm sure you're shouting them out at the, as you're travelling along, doing whatever you're doing. I still can't think of another drummer called Dave McLean. There we go, Dave McLean, Machine Head. This is now ridiculous. This is now me playing a game with you guys who I can't see, but I'm trying to. Oh yeah, look, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he keeps wanting to say in public, "Look, I know I'm shit," but he also says, "Oh well, I know what goes best with James Hetfield's guitar better than anyone else." And it's like, yeah, wow. So basically, you're saying what we've all thought for years. You're nothing without James. Simple as that. You are nothing without James, because everyone else knows that you're not a very good drummer. And I know there's some Lars fans out there, but he makes your life more and more difficult and your position harder and harder to defend when he comes out with shit like this. Anyway, moving on to another partnership in a band, eh? Another person stuck with another person. In this case, it's Paul Stanley. And he's stuck with who? Who could he possibly be stuck with, little bollockers? Of course, he's stuck with the badly drawn toy gorilla that is Gene Simmons. Yes, the man who claims, I'm a handsome and powerful man. Well, you might be powerful, but Gene, if I was a woman, I'd rather fuck a wooden spike. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Yeah, so Paul and Gene have been... Paul's basically hauled Gene back in line because he's claimed about, some song or other. It's great. You hear these stories from Gene. And I know I hate Kiss, and I've been accused recently of being obsessed with Paul Stanley. With Gene Simmons. I am not obsessed with Gene Simmons, and I am not obsessed with Kiss. But Gene keeps saying really stupid fucking stuff, and that comes in really handy when you've got a podcast to do. Simple as that. That's all I'm saying here. But I'm not in the least obsessed with Gene Simmons. Promise, okay? Honestly. But in all seriousness, he's had to give him a yank back in line after Gene came out with some wonderful story about how wonderful this song was to write and all the rest of it. And then Paul just goes, well, yeah, I mean, he says that he kind of took a song I hadn't kind of finished and then and finished it for me. Well, I had the verses, I had the title, and I had the chorus, and it was just really funny because Gene just ignores Paul when he tweets all this stuff out. Gene just completely ignores it, which is hilarious to me. I can't believe I'm talking about Kiss this much. I've fucking got to move on. But one more thing. Kiss Catalogue Limited has been in touch with the Patent Office and has tried to gain the end of the road trademark application. They are trying to trademark. They've applied for the trademark to the phrase "the end of the road." Right? So, A, let's fucking hope it is. B, if it is, it'll be hopefully the last fucking trademark application this set of fucks ever make. And C, please just let it be the end. Although I have to say, zero fucks given here. Kiss playing down the road, Kiss playing in my garden, Kiss playing on the moon. Either way, not fucking interested. So that is the end of the Kiss section from the person who still claims that he is not a Kiss fan, despite the fact I have managed to go on an inordinate amount of time about Kiss. Fuck off! Jesus! It's like, oh God, right, okay, let's get into it. Let's get into an interview. And let's get straight in with the one, okay? This interview is with Godless. He was here 2 weekends ago. Arrived in Ealing, where I live in London, about midday on the Friday. We jumped in the car, drove up to Derby whilst recording a 1-hour podcast on the way there. Went out for a curry, me and my mate, and Godless. We all went out for a curry, went to the gig. I'd already done an hour podcast with the band as well. And by the way, I've recorded an hour on the motorway back as well. So there's a 3-hour The Beyond special coming at some point this month. Once I get my laptop fixed and I can chuck it all together. Should be a fairly easy job to be honest, but it is, it's going to be cool, man. It's going to be really, really cool. So what was I going to say? Hopefully it's going to be really cool. It is. It's going to be brilliant. Anyway, not long after Godless arrived, he informed me that he wasn't going to be doing any more podcasts, which was absolutely gutting. And so the podcast you're going to hear now is right at the end of our time together, which sounds beautifully gay. But it is. It was at the end of our time together after we'd been up to Derby, sort all this out, to do the gig and everything else. Did a podcast on the way home, and then we sort of sat down and we talked about all sorts of stuff. This doesn't necessarily focus on their podcast at the end of it. That's the end of the metal podcast with Chuck and Godless, which is gutting. I know a lot of you out there were subscribers, and so please, if you can. If you see anybody moaning about it, send them over. Get them over. Let's get them into talking bollocks. Anyway, enough of me trying to nick their listeners. Now is the chat with Godless. Now, because I'm on the tablet, as I said, it's not my full regular gear, so I haven't got all of the usual stings, etc. So you're going to have to make do with me making them up. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is my chat with Godless from a couple of weeks ago. So here we are in Talking Bollocks Towers. The odyssey of this weekend has brought Godless to Talking Bollocks Towers, HHQ, the Acid Rain Arsehole, whatever you want to call it. This is where the podcast is recorded. I thought it'd be quite nice for Godless to be here and take part in the engine room of what is the most disorganised slapdash podcast. He said to me just before he switched this on, he went, "What's the topic?" I said, "You'll find out."
There's a tremendous number of skulls, more skulls than I anticipated in the interior decoration of your house.
Oh right, okay. So you didn't seem you're very quiet there, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, you have to sit on the sofa, dude. I don't come across as a skulls guy. They're not metal skulls. I just like skulls.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
See, it's surprising.
Dave behind the television there. Dave's a medicine stick. So if you've got any ailments or anything, just let me know now, and Dave will get on it. And he'll be fit as fuck by the time you get home. Yeah, it's an African enchanted.
Inserting that stick somewhere? Are you hitting me over the head with it?
It's an African enchanted medicine stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
As the guy who sold it to me said, and I then found out it was made of fiberglass. I'm not sure you can enchant fiberglass. I didn't get ripped off. I didn't.
Keep saying that.
Yeah.
Believe it.
It's like a mantra. I didn't get ripped off. I did. It is what it is, dude. Yeah.
The interior decoration is amazing. I mean, you've got like as a married guy.
Oh, right,
I don't get the opportunity.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware that this is an entire man cave.
This is the whole house is a man cave.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the bed looks like it's out of a porn movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't been on the bed. I'm just saying he's been in the bedroom.
I've seen it from a distance.
Yeah, just to see the art that was hanging on the walls because I have a lot of art in my house. So yeah. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Well, this is what's possible when you're so antisocial. I'm not antisocial. I'm very social. But this is what happens without a wife to condense your personality and eventually turn you into half man, half woman. It starts with can I have a room? You get a room. Then the room gets moved out to the garage. Then the garage gets moved out to the shed. And then eventually an electric fire starts a fire in the shed. You go up in flames and she gets what she wants. House to herself and all your money. But just a cautionary tale.
So many years ago when my wife and I had the house and we had bought a business and a lot of we had stock and stuff that we needed to keep. So my wife hired a feng shui expert.
Are you fucking kidding me?
To come in and to rearrange the house to see. Now I was like, I'm not participating in this, right?
She bought into that. I mean, did you then say, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to hire an exorcist
this feng shui artist who I never met in person was smart. Because the feng shui person knew if she wanted another gig, she's got to convince me, right? Mm-hmm. So she told my wife, I don't see enough of your husband's presence here. You need to give him more space in the house to present himself.
Did she fall for it, or did you have to explain what was going on here?
We moved just a few months later.
A few minutes later would have been fucking great.
A few months later, and my wife's like, you're going to have the smallest room in the house is yours, whatever it is. And so it turns out it's the bathroom on the main floor. And you know how you go to somebody's house.
Hang on. At that point, didn't you say we need to renegotiate this because I don't want the fucking bathroom?
No, because let me tell you why.
Oh right.
Because you ever go to somebody's house and you're like, hey, mind if I use your restroom? They go right down the hallway, make a left.
Yeah.
And you go down the hallway and you make the left, but they actually meant right, and it's a closet. So it's always a closet the first time. So my idea was to make it so that the bathroom, which was right across the hall from the closet, would actually be decorated like a closet. So whenever I send anybody, oh yeah, it's right over there, they open the door, oh no, it's the closet, they turn around, oh no, that's a closet too.
Right.
But you got to go through the clothes. But having clothes hanging in the doorway somewhere where you're just pissed, probably not the best for cleanliness, you know?
Yeah.
So instead I turned it into a shrine to an obscure sports figure I really had an interest in, which ended up being fun.
Well, a friend of mine, what was I saying? My mum.
Yeah.
you go to our house. My mum and dad were antique dealers, and so it's just antiques in every room. You know, very much a sort of that's the vibe, right? You know, and you say, oh, can I? You know, we can use your bathroom. Yeah, you go to the bathroom. When you get to the bathroom, it was you open the door. Pink Panthers everywhere. Pink Panthers everywhere. Pink Panther picture, Pink Panther hologram, Pink Panther little models.
The characters, not scenes in the movie.
No, the character. But the little China models everywhere, fucking everywhere. At max count, I think there's about 60 in there. and it absolutely, completely out of character. With the rest of the house. So people first time, you know, oh, can you use about it's up there, and you forget when you're used to it, and then come back out. What? Just the stop line. Does someone like the Pink Panther? Yeah, shut the fuck up. Everyone says that. You're not special. You're not funny. What a host.
But this was the interesting. So I used your restroom, right?
Yeah.
And I was surprised at your toilet seat.
Oh, don't tell me you shat on it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, right, okay.
But like, this is the thing. It's like, you know, if you stand up to pee,
it's a stock wooden. Yeah.
Right, but you got to keep the seat up to pee.
Yeah.
But your seat doesn't stay up. You have to hold it.
Yeah.
I don't have that many hands.
Well, do you know why that is?
You sit when you pee?
No, the reason that is just come out and insult me. My own fucking house. Shit in the street next time. and then we'll see how many hands you have. What it is basically it comes from living with a woman, which is basically it's impossible not to leave the seat down.
Oh, you can't keep
so
yourself...
it's like absolute total. It's not a thing for me.
Yeah,
it's just not a thing for me. All my female friends fucking love me. I never forget to put the seat back down because that's how it is at home.
Right.
And if any visit, they're like, "Wow, you know, he lives on his own, yet the seat is down. How considerate!"
Because the seat can never get up.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
Yeah, I know, but
they sit down on it.
Oh.
Believe you me, that's the only thing in this flat that can't get up. Yeah, sorry, but you know, you're gonna hang that out there. I'm gonna fucking knock it out of the park.
No pun intended.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny you said what's the topic, and then you set out on the topic, which is the decor of my flat.
It's been a 10-minute process of trying to get to the topic of your toilet seat. Yeah.
Is that where we were?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you were determined
to get to?
Is that why you started on the decor
the
is
skulls,
quite...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it goes back to our conversation last night. Like, it's not about what I'm saying now. I'm trying to think step ahead. And then, but of course, like, what happens is you never know if you're actually going to get to that destination, but hopefully it gets you somewhere else that's...
And that right there is why we'd be such a wicked podcast pair. Because it's... but that is the kind of vibe that you had with Chuck, which was... You know, he doesn't plan anything. Right. You plan everything to the nth degree, and it's a great thing to have.
Yeah,
because someone is always steering the ship.
I need that
someone's always steering the ship, but we may never end up at that destination. But as long as the destination is cool, who cares?
Well, you listen to. I mean, there are certainly podcasts you hear them where there is no direction, and it's impossible to listen.
But what did used to make me laugh when the podcasts existed was when there'd be like a pause or a natural kind of like that question's been answered and you just come out with, so which hand do you wipe your ass with? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was just like an absolute total left field.
Yeah.
Now to me that would always feel like really kind of like, oh, that's brutally manufactured there, man. That's like fuck, you know, you've just jumped in with both feet, do you know what I mean, and tried to kick the guy in the balls for a reaction. But it works.
Well,
it's, you know, it's
how else are you going to find out?
Not a criticism, an observation.
Right. I mean, that was always my thing, is like, sort of going back to that idea of trying to get to a topic, right? Sometimes you want to get, you try to let the conversation flow and hopefully it goes that way. But there are some things that you want to know. Yeah. There's just no way you're going to lead into that spot.
Well, it's funny you should say that. Because now the Metal Podcast is no more. And you have absolutely zero responsibilities to anybody. And as far as I can tell, also give zero fucks. Let's hear it. Who was the worst fucking interview? Who was the dickhead who didn't turn up? What was Mustaine really like? Just unload it all. Get it off your chest. Just think of me. Father Howard is here to hear your confession. For you to be able to say all the things that you, from a professional podcaster's point of view, could never say. Now's the time to unload it purely for the Patreon listeners. This is their lucky day.
I don't know that there's too much that I haven't already shared, but like...
All right, okay, move on.
But, like about a year, maybe longer, like about 3 years into doing the podcast is when the opportunity to interview Dave Mustaine came around. So, like, it got scheduled, and of course we planned, there's so much material, We're going to get a certain amount of time, so then half my planning is, how do I get it to narrow down to just for the time we're going to get? And then...
Yeah, as opposed to just rocking up your first question, like, how's God today?
Yeah, totally right. Yeah. So, like, I leave work early, I get, I'm in the studio with Chuck, we're standing there, waiting for the phone to ring. Phone doesn't ring. And Chuck, sends out the email to the publicist, like, what's going on? Dave can't do it today after all. Something came up. And it was so much planning and sacrificing work and driving across busy town and all that shit. I was like, oh, fuck, So after that, whenever somebody would stiff us on an interview like that, we would call it getting Mustained.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So
the good old days.
Yeah. So the second time we got him, he actually did the conversation. He ended up being, a really interesting person to talk to. And was great.
Because he says stupid things occasionally, but the thing is, he's outspoken. He, they are the people you want. I mean, I criticise him on here for things he said, and I poke fun at him and rip the piss out of him.
Yeah.
But at least he's fucking out there. At least it's not all watered down.
Damn
fucking just, Oh, it's another interview with Dave Mustaine. Do I fucking care? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Because Dave says shit.
Yeah. He's had 8 interviews today, and all of them have been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've got like 8 interviews going away. Going.
No, I don't want to listen to one interview from somebody I agree with all the time and says the same thing he always says. I want to hear 8 different interviews from this other person who I disagree with 78% of the time, and is always saying something interesting. That's so much better.
Well, it's like Gene Simmons. Love him or hate him, he comes out with some of the most utter bullshit.
Yeah.
That I get 10 minutes of material for my podcast out of it. So
I mean, I've come to believe that Donald Trump is he has out Gene Simmons at this point.
But,
you know what I mean?
But do you know what the link is there though? The link between Trump. No, there's one that's even more obvious.
What's that?
Hair.
Oh yeah.
You look at both of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, your hair's fucked, dude.
Yeah.
Don't know what you've had done. Don't know what's going on. Yeah. But you had some fucking German geneticist at work on your fucking head at some point over the years.
You think that when it's the same wig maker as like a classic 1950s horror movie where like the wig maker has put something in the wig that seeps into their brain.
I think we're way beyond wig here. We're way beyond wig. We're talking these guys are prepared to spend millions.
Yeah.
They have the money.
Yeah.
They're gonna go. They are gonna go like deep. It reminds me. When you watch like a sci-fi movie and they've got to fight like I'm trying to think of the movie, but Total Recall, and he's got to go and find whatever his name is, the philosopher.
Okay.
And it turns out the guy's living in somebody else's belly. It's like you've got to go and find somebody, and they live deep. And that Donald and Gene, do you know what I mean? They've travelled to Vietnam and they've gone underground to this village and where this fucking doctor works who's not allowed, struck off from every country, and do you know what I mean? Who's like only performs for like millions and is doing some absolutely out there sewing a fucking Jaguar's ball sack to your head for a week and shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they're doing. Serious fucking in-depth, like just behind closed doors, underground medical facility bullshit, James Bond stuff.
Yeah.
That's what they're having done. Absolutely.
I don't think that's true of Trump, but all right.
Oh, he's got that fucking ice cream cone head.
Yeah.
He's got a problem there. And then you've got fucking Gene, who looks like, as I've said before, looks like a badly drawn toy gorilla.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked.
Oh, good.
Dave Mustaine was a good interview. Hey, come on, I want to know. You've got to give me the shit.
We had one. Well, I don't know how much of shit it is, but we had one.
Rex was fucking boring.
Rex was terrible.
Just boring.
Yeah.
I just want to rock and roll, man. God. I hate it when people call metal rock and roll. Fuck, it's one of my pet peeves. It's metal, you fuck. Here's rock and roll for you. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock.
His last album is
You
that.
are not rock and roll.
Yeah,
but Lemmy used to call Motorhead rock and roll. Seriously, dude? I mean, I know you're dead, but fuck you. It's not rock and fucking... The Ace of Spades!
Yeah.
The Ace of... 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4... Where is the... Fucking show me the similarity. Oh, you can't. Why? There is none. It's played by human beings, that's it.
It's faster and louder. And
don't give me that. Do not give me that rock and roll bullshit.
I'm not going to get on the topic, but yeah.
Oh, you're not, yeah?
No, let's skip that.
Well, that was the topic. You
Rock and
wanted
roll?
to know what the topic is.
Rock
That was
and roll?
the topic. And now you're saying you don't want to do the topic.
Nah.
Fuck him. Get out of my house.
Just bad interviews. The guy from Torch.
Who?
Do you ever remember a band called Torch?
No.
And
I mean, like, shit interview, shit band.
Well,
in the name. It's all there in the name for
no,
you.
it was actually an interesting band, Torche. And
right, yeah.
And sort of an interesting character, too, because he's out as a homosexual in a scene that is pretty tough with that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We get him on the phone, and the phone ringing obviously woke him up middle of the day. Right. And he was not interested in talking, and everything was like monosyllabic answers. And eventually I just turned to Chuck, and I'm like, so Chuck, you seen any good movies lately? And it was like, I was trying to communicate to this guy, you are so boring that I'd rather have a boring conversation with the guy I'm standing next to than talk to you.
Yeah.
And we never aired it, never did anything with it.
I was going to say, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, no, it never bothered because it was just so incredibly bad. It's a waste of everybody's time.
So was there any others that never got aired?
Yeah, there was one, and I can't remember the name of her band.
Her band?
Yeah, I'm blanking. Totally blanking.
Well, just tell me about the band. Makes such a change to have somebody else blanking. Other than me.
Totally. But yeah, it was just...
what kind of music?
The doom metal stuff.
Oh, well, fuck
And
me.
she had
Serves you right.
She'd had another band with another young woman, and then they'd had this very public split, and then she quickly forms this other band, and I'd seen them in concert too. They're boring as shit live. Right. And I can't, it's so much more interesting if I could remember the name, and I can't, I'm sorry. But yeah, she, just every single answer, like, to a script.
Oh,
and
God.
And you
fuck
could,
off.
it was one of those things where you could just tell that, like, even when I'd ask a question the more you're going to try to stay in this narrow space, I'm going to try to go as far out as I can, just to shake you out of it. And she wouldn't go there. Right. It would just be like, oh no, I'm not talking about that. No, I'm not talking about that.
So Jabay just shut you down?
Yeah, or she would go, huh, and then give an answer to a different question that she probably got in the interview before us.
Yeah. I think
talking about influences without me asking that damn question.
One of those. I think the question you meant to ask was.
Yeah. And so it was like she'd gotten a bit of coaching, but that's the thing. It's like so many of these musicians they are obviously
media
coached.
trained.
Yeah,
media trained.
But they're being trained on how to not say anything wrong, instead of being trained on how to present the most interesting version of themselves.
Well, do you know what? It goes back to a conversation you and I had over breakfast this morning, which sounds remarkably homosexual, but it was in a cafe, and fuck you.
Only I wasn't wearing my pants.
yeah, because he's Chapman. But we were saying this morning about, like, connecting with people and how important it is as a front man in a band, or as a comedian, or or a salesperson, or connecting with people is so important, because if you can do that, then as an interviewer, you're in. Yeah. You're all in. It's like, oh wow, okay, this person is up for it. Yeah. And there's no better feeling. I know exactly how that feels. There's no better feeling than, like, 5 or 10 minutes in thinking, yeah, we're we're on something here. We're rocking. This person's going to go there. And I've had the occasional interview where I think, that was just a bit. It was just a bit stock. It was just a bit. I kind of got. Okay. Like hands up. I'll be honest. I didn't think the last interview I did with Igor Cavallero was that good. And I kind of ran out of steam and shut the interview down after 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Well,
40 minutes is a long time for most.
Well, yeah, but not for me. Yeah. But I've interviewed Igor before for like an hour and a half, and I was but I don't know. I wasn't, and I'm not blaming Igor in any way. Do you know what I mean? It was like he seemed, but I don't know. It just didn't. I didn't seem to be able to get to anything that I felt was meaty enough or different enough or anything. And it's quite selfish. It was like anything that was satisfying me.
Well, it's the only barometer that we have.
I was going to say barometer. That's scary. You know what? We should do a podcast together.
But when you're in that conversation with a musician, it's always, at least for me, it was always about trying to...
Don't say was.
Trying to find a way to make it interesting for me. And so...
because you figure that's going to make it interesting to listeners.
If I always found if I was, what you want to know, a reason that I would come up with some left field question is if I started drifting, if my head started drifting...
you need to get back engaged with it.
Yes, and in my imagination, talk about ego, every listener is doing the same thing I am.
But again, what this comes down to is it's that age old thing. Whether it's music, whether it's comedy, whether it's acting, whatever, you just have to do what you think is best.
Yeah,
you're in charge. You just have to do what you think is best, and you put it out.
Yeah.
And if people say it's shit, well, it's shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. If people love it, they love it. But you're right. The only judge that you can have is yourself. Your own, your own feeling about it. And I misjudge it all the time with comedy. You write new material, go out there, and I've been doing it 20 years, and I always do the same thing. I think the stuff that's going to work is going to be brilliant, and the stuff that's pretty shitty is not going to work, and it's always the other way around. Yeah. Always the other way around.
So comedy is one of those things that, sort of helped inform how I approached interviews, in that my brother and I used to produce a comedy show. He still produces it, right? But we designed it together and all sort of thing. And it was a comedy game show, or is a comedy game show. And one of my worries about the game show is that the game itself might not be entertaining or funny at times. So there needed to be almost like stock periods inside the show that we knew would be funny. So that way, even if the game starts to suck, give it a minute. We're going to get to that next funny thing.
Yeah.
So applying that to the conversations, when I would prep, I always tried to have a handful of questions that no matter what it is that they answer, I'm hoping that at least the question is fucking funny.
So basically, you've got a bunch of silver bullets here. It's like essentially...
No matter what response happens, hopefully at least just the fact that I asked it.
Yeah.
And it was something that I certainly drifted from for months, and I would try to get back to because I'd sort of slip on forgetting those particular types of techniques and stuff. But, then I would get, I got to go back to trying that. Because that'd be another thing that'd happen, there's times where it kind of comes and goes. Things come and go from, call them tricks or hacks or whatever, that they would disappear from the arsenal, and then you go, I still have that arrow there. I got to pull that out. I haven't pulled that one out in a while.
But also, I think the ones that I really love, and I'm going to reference one of the favourites that I've done, which was the James Murphy interview, which was literally, I mean, my best friend Anthony, who you met last night, who came to the Beyond show. He was messaging me whilst he was listening to it, going, Jesus Christ, this is fucking incredible. His story, not my podcast. And he'd never say that. Afterwards, he sort of called me up and said, wow, that's amazing. How long have you known each other? He thought that we knew each other.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that we were just going to start talking like that and James was going to open up so quickly about stuff that's really sensitive. There's just no way that's going to happen. No, that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is that, and I look back on that one, which is really, really odd, because we obviously arranged interviews in different ways. I always contact, well, not always. This one was, I fucking messaged him on Facebook.
Right.
And he just hit me straight back and say, yeah, love to do it. Great name for a podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thanks a lot, dude. You know, British sense of humour. And he's like, yeah, I got a few. And we started, it's weird. We started messaging each other like we'd known each other for years.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, my wife's always giving me shit like this. But about 5 messages in, and I'm messaging him back, and it's just like, it was actually when I was on the road with the band, and somebody said, and Paul said, who are you fucking messaging with? And I just turned around and I went, James Murphy, and he was just like, what? Yeah. How do you know him? I said, well, I'm getting to know him.
Yeah.
I said, I messaged him when we pulled over for coffee at the last service. He was like, why? I was like, to get him on the podcast. He said, yeah, but you've been messaging each other non-stop for the last half hour. I was like, yeah, I know. It's kind of odd, but I think that kind of paved the way.
Yeah.
That when we ended up speaking, it was just like, and when stuff like that happens, it's just like, I haven't listened to it since it went out, but I think at the end of the podcast, when it finishes, you hear me just go, fuck me. Wow.
Yeah.
You know? It's like...
Well, and the magic doesn't happen every time. It can't.
Oh, no, it happens less often.
Oh, yeah. And I think it was getting, over the 6 years and, 4.5 or so that we were doing interviews, it was getting sometimes more and more challenging. And it was coming from different places. There were people that we were interviewing who were fans of the show, and so they came on with almost prepared for the left field questions and things like that. And sometimes that made it harder.
No, it fucks it. It fucks the dynamic.
Not always, but some, a fair amount of time. And then there were also those cases of where, I get the feeling that, there were a number of other podcasts, and certainly the MetalSucks podcast have said so themselves, that they were listening to how we were doing interviews and taking some of these lessons and trying to apply them themselves. So if we would interview somebody, they might have already had one or two interviews that stylistically were now doing similar things to what we were doing on our show. And so, one of the reasons that it's easier to walk away from the metal podcast now is that, shows like yours, Talk to Me, the MetalSucks podcast, and maybe one or two others, my apologies for those that I'm not mentioning, but they've gotten really good at the long form, excellent, great content, interesting, compelling interview that frankly didn't exist 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for that.
Right. Okay. So you're taking credit for what I do. That's what you're trying to do, isn't it?
No, not at all. I'm saying it
you cunt, eh? I'm ripping you guys off. That's what you're saying.
I didn't say that
if I was Mr. Sensitive, you know what I mean? You motherfucker, get out of my house! The second time, come back so I can kick you out again. No, that's that. Okay, but that's very gracious of you to say it, but also I don't believe it, because I think that there's listening to other people do it and do it yourselves are two different fucking things. It's not it's not my work is done here.
Yeah.
Certainly. I don't think you should. You don't need sending down the glue factory just yet, man. I still think you have more to offer.
Like I said, that's why it's easier to walk away.
Not easy.
It's not easy. No.
Yeah. Well, like I said, don't walk away. Anyway, so any kind of, were there any times where people said things and you thought, whoa, motherfucker, you're out of order there. No, that's that. I'm not fucking taking that.
No, I can't think of any. I'd have to think about that, but I can't remember any time where that happened. Can you remember any that
I really enjoyed? And I think I sent you the link to that Jonathan Pine.
Michael Sweet would be the only time that happened.
Oh, and that never aired?
No, that one aired. Yeah, the guy from Striper.
And you did it on your own?
I did it solo.
I remember.
Because Chuck was like, I don't want to have nothing to do with this, which was smart of him. But that conversation afterwards gave me nightmares. I couldn't sleep that night.
Really?
It was awful. And
it aired. I don't remember this.
Yeah, you'll have to dig that one
Where
up.
was it on?
I was on MetalSucks.
MetalSucks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
so that must have been because I take the piss out of Michael Sweet
Right.
regularly.
See,
because it's so easy.
Quick backstory was that like when I was 14, 15 years old, I still have it at home. Striper back patch. I was full on.
So you were full on Jesus and Striper.
Full on Jesus and Striper, right?
Okay.
And
wow.
Yeah.
Get out.
I mean, I still love, that In God We Trust album. I think it's great, right? I won't listen to it, but I loved it.
You're going to hell.
So, like, all right, so the history was that I, like, very early on in the MetalSucks days was like, I want Michael Sweet. We got to get a conversation. I know he's not, like, heavy, but that's got to be a conversation that we do. And, everybody else was like, no, we're not making this happen. And then eventually they came around on the album cycle, and I guess Striper's people contacted MetalSucks. MetalSucks came back to us, and it was like, all right, we'll do it, but we need an hour.
Wow.
And they were willing to give it to us.
Right, fine.
So it was...
Long hour, right? Yeah.
And my issue with it was that he wouldn't face head on any of the points that I was making. He wouldn't debate the merits of his arguments.
Were you trying to have a theological discussion with him?
Yes,
and he wouldn't take debate.
Well, he was interested in doing that too, but he didn't. Anytime there was a challenge to his point, he would change topic. And fight a different topic.
Welcome to trying to debate a religious person.
I know, but
that's why I don't do it anymore.
And Michael Sweet is an interesting person, not only because of what he's done with music and all that sort of thing, the challenges that Striper faced as a Christian band in a very secular scene, blah blah blah. But his wife died of cancer.
Thanks God.
And he, went through that. They had drug issues. While as Christian artists, I mean, that's a lot of really compelling and interesting life story.
Yeah.
That there's contradictions there that to me are pretty damn apparent.
Yeah.
And
are you telling me that you did an interview with a religious person and they were in denial about things?
No, it wasn't. Well, yeah, I'd say as far as did God hate you or did he hate your wife?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a really tough question to ask, but I felt like I kind of got to find a way to ask it.
Right, okay.
And
fuck me.
Yeah.
Did you?
I don't remember exactly how I put it, but yeah. Because, I mean...
Fucking hell.
Yeah, because, I mean, how else can you face that? You can't say, oh, well, God just had
I love you.
Good choice. For, this what he did. Why did he make her suffer then?
You cannot fucking deprive the metal community of these kind of interviews. Yeah. You should just do like one a year and just absolutely fucking hammer somebody.
Well, but
just Michael Sweet once a year would be fine.
But like I said, afterwards I felt awful.
Yeah,
simply awful.
Why?
Because
you did what you set out to do.
No, I didn't. I set out to have a conversation.
Oh,
to really.
And did you just end up upsetting someone?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's his problem.
No, it was my problem.
What you think? Because so you think you went in with the wrong angle? Or you just couldn't deal with the fact that he wasn't engaging, and you handled that the wrong way.
I don't think that I handled it the wrong way. It was just upsetting that this opportunity to talk to somebody who actually had an important impact on my life for a long time, and in fact was in a way instrumental to me getting to my current beliefs and the fact that
from God to godless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because the reason that I find that topic important, because there's so many people who are casually theist or casually atheist.
No, a little bit pregnant. You are fucking either in or you're out.
That's sort of my feeling.
That's what I can't stand about. Do you know who I hate more than not hate, but I have a problem with more than Christians? Agnostics. They're worse. Oh, yeah, there's got to be something. I'm not saying what it is, but there's got to be something. Oh, fuck you.
Well, I don't know.
Fucking fence sitter.
I character myself as an agnostic atheist. Because agnosticism is what you know, or Gnosticism what you know. Theism or atheism is what you believe. So I don't think that there's like agnostic is on a spectrum between theist and atheist. I look at it as those two separate spectrums, right?
Right.
But anyway,
yeah,
boring.
Yeah.
The fact that Michael Sweet communicated to me at a compelling time in my life that Jesus and God was important, and I needed to really embrace that, was important, because when I then lost that belief, I still felt that the question was important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, love turns to hate. You know, and maybe that's why you're such a staunch whatever you call yourself. I'm gonna go with atheist.
Yeah.
But that is, it's like it is. It's like, whoa, hang on. I fucking loved this concept. It turns out it's bullshit. I have been lied to. Yeah. I have been emotionally abused. Because you love Jesus, you love it. It's emotional abuse. When you find out that the whole thing's a fucking lie, and it's just a story to keep you in line. It's basically crowd control, and that is going to be like the most outspoken anti-smokers are ex-smokers.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's like fuck this.
And I don't want to sort of like fall into a certain amount of solipsism, but by the time that conversation's over, Michael Sweet no longer exists, right? Like, whatever goes on in his head and whatever he's thinking about me or that conversation is not something that's going to impact me in any way ever, ever, ever. The only thing I'm left with is me regretting that the conversation didn't go a different direction. Not because I felt like, and see, this is where there's a real.
So what direction did it go in? Was it like a tug of war then?
Well, it was kind of like, how would I describe it? It was kind of like trying to grab his hand and lead him into one room, and then turning around and he's standing in another room trying to talk to me through the wall. And then I go back to that room, I grab his hand, let's try this other room, and then I turn around and.
He's still in the same fucking room.
He's back in that other room again, talking to me through that wall. That's what it felt like. And I don't have regrets, because the questions that I asked, I really felt were important to ask. Since he is, as he said, why are you asking me? Why don't you ask God? And I didn't.
That's got to be the fucking weakest get out I've ever heard.
Well, I don't. And I didn't answer him then, but my response should have been, because you're his marketing director, dude.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I did actually refer to a current member of Striper, Oz Fox. I mean, that guy's going to be a dick. I mean, there's two clues right there.
No, I think he's an ex-member now. I think.
No. This was only a couple of weeks ago.
Oh wow!
And the guy had, I don't know if you heard this on the podcast, but he had the nerve to say that I'm in a place right now where the relationship between me and God is fantastic, and He knows and cares about everything in my life. And I just thought, the amount of arrogance that you have to possess to make that statement is just unfathomable. The almighty being and creator cares what I have for fucking breakfast. That's what you're saying. You're putting that out there. And
doesn't care for all of those children. Millions of children who are hungry, disease-ridden, all that stuff that they're suffering through. God doesn't care about them, but He cares about me.
No, absolutely. It's like that Ricky Gervais thing where he says, like, the insurance company rings up God because somebody's put active God. A tree fell on his car, and they ring God and say, "Look, God, did you knock this tree over?" And he goes, "Well, hang on, let me just look up in my diary. Where'd you say it was?" Birmingham, right? Birmingham. What time on a Wednesday? 9:00 Wednesday, Birmingham. No, it couldn't have been me. I was in Africa giving cancer to babies.
Yeah. That's right. But that was one of the things with Michael Sweet where I'd be like, well, what about like a child who's suffering awful things? They're practically newborn in amounts of pain. He's like, well, humans choose. And I'm like, there's no choice there. No choice was made.
Well, you must have seen, or have you seen the Stephen Fry famous YouTube clip where he's being interviewed by Gay Byrne on Irish television, which somebody like 11 years after it was, 7 years after it's been recorded, somebody made a complaint about blasphemy.
Yeah,
and it was like, the police were going to have to investigate it. Ha ha! What a load of bullshit. That is quite simply the most eloquent and succinct destruction of the so-called Christian God, the so-called all-knowing being that has no faults.
Right.
When he goes off and he talks about, the Greek gods who knew they had their faults and things like that, and then, and just the, insects burrowing into children's eyes, all of that stuff. It's just like Gay Byrne sat there with his mouth open because, dude, you've got nowhere to go here. Yeah. You've got nothing to say. And I urge, if you're listening to this, check it out. Just put Stephen Fry, Gay Byrne into YouTube, and you'll see the clip. Yeah. And it's
it's like 4 minutes long or something.
Yeah, but he basically says to Stephen Fry, what would you say to St. Peter at the gates of heaven? I know you're not a believer, but what would you say to God? And it's just fucking God gets taken down. He is cut down to size, and it's just it's just fucking legendary.
And, like the reason I took on the moniker of Godless is, I didn't want to do the show under my own name.
Yeah.
Because, I still wanted to preserve a certain amount of anonymity. And I didn't know, I wanted to have the freedom to be able to say anything I wanted without worrying about whether I couldn't get a job or something. And there's a...
just get hammered on Twitter.
Yeah, and there's a gentleman named Matt Dillahunty who's a brilliant debater. If you get a chance,
the name rings a bell.
Another great dude to find on YouTube. I had was sitting down with him. He's part of a small group of atheists in Austin, and I would go every once in a while and be there. And I was able to sit and eat with him. And he was struggling to find work at a certain point because when he would apply for a job, they would Google his name, and he is, I believe, the closest person to replace Christopher Hitchens that there could be.
Or Richard Dawkins.
No, he's more of a Hitchens style than Dawkins style.
Right.
But he couldn't get work.
Not in Christian America, because funnily enough, those Christians weren't willing to forgive him.
No way. Yeah. Not unless if he asked for forgiveness, they'd give it to him. Or if he did other... Anyway, that's another... But that to me was like a lesson. Like, okay, if I'm going to be able to say what I want to say and ask questions that I want to ask, I need to be able to do it with at least some modicum of anonymity. And so I went with Godless because, especially at the time 6 years ago, I was still reeling in a way from... having been burned by Christianity.
Right.
So it was an important topic. My atheism at that time was a very important topic to me. And it's still important now. But, it's just like anything. It's like getting, you get dumped by somebody, you're angry.
So when did you get out of God then? How old?
Well, it's not like a date. It's not like, it was this long process that began probably when I was around... 17 years old or so, 16, 17.
And how many years would you say did it take to extract the God out of you?
Probably over 10 years.
Fuck, right, okay.
Yeah, because it wasn't... there was, there's certainly a patch there and for 4 years or so where I barely gave it any thought at all.
Right.
And, so that's in there as well. But, it was being introduced to evolution and Charles Darwin's theories and then seeing the evidence of all that.
So at what age was this happening? 17?
That was around 17, 18. And
right.
Which made me...
So had that been kept from you?
It wasn't kept from me.
But you had to go looking for it.
Yeah, I was never exposed to it.
Because funnily enough, Christian schools, etc., aren't going to go, hey, check this book out.
Yeah, like I would have been so interested in biology if the very basis of biology had been introduced in the early stages of learning about biology.
So it wasn't?
No, biology was, it starts with, well, there's cells that split and, no, you start with, people used to walk on all fours and then the grass grew really tall because the earth had warmed. And so now people had to, we're on all fours, we jump up on our back feet to kind of stand
see
up.
over the grass, yeah.
To see over the grass, to see if there's danger coming or food to eat. Now, before you know it, we're standing up. Well, that's interesting, and tell me more. And before you know it, you're talking about molecular biology, and you don't realize, like, how it all ties together.
So what I was trying to get at was what was the Christian version of biology? Was it just it was biology, but it was just very dry? Or was it like the Garden of Eden?
Yeah, no, it was just skip evolution because it's too controversial, and just get into the actual like nuts and bolts of biology.
Yeah, which is weird because the nuts and bolts of biology are scientifically researched. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, right, okay, square that circle.
Yeah, well, how is it that you can believe all of this stuff, but not believe all of the stuff
that leads up to it?
Lead to it, yeah, which is crazy. But, what are you going to say? Christian can't say, I don't believe in biology because, well, now I don't get to take my medicine, my kids can't have their medicines. All that stuff is really important. I like that.
But also, what gets forgotten is Charles Darwin was a Christian.
Yes.
And Charles Darwin was as disappointed as anybody in his book.
That's why he published it right near the end of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So he wouldn't be around
He's like, fuck this.
To see how many people's lives he ruined.
Yeah.
But that is why I have so much admiration for the man. One of the greatest human beings to ever walk the planet, because he challenged it.
Yep.
Because do you know what? Yeah. Apparently, he was given that ability by God. The ability to free think, the ability to figure out that there was no God.
He also didn't put it out there because the history of science is anybody Galileo, etc. You do anything that challenges the church, you're going to be hung up.
Yeah.
Literally hung up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And who wants that?
I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan of getting hung. I've got to say. By the way, when you said to me right at the beginning, what's the topic? And I said, you'll see. Do you want to know what the topic was?
Yeah, let's hear it.
You.
Oh, no, come on.
No. It was.
Yeah.
The topic was always going to be you. Because you, this might be people's last chance to hear from you. Yeah. And we've ended up here, which is really nice. But we got into this, Godless and all the rest of it. And it's like, it's great to have that backstory. Right. It's great to hear the evolution of the Godless story, because I think it's kind of like, when you're an interviewer, unless you're me, because I go on about me all the time, I have a nice chunks of the podcast where I can just spout off so people get to know who I am, and they get to know who you are from the podcasts, because you're wrapped with Chuck and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But actually knowing a bit more about how did you get here? Yeah. How did we get to this point? The evolution of Godless, if you like. It's really fascinating stuff. It's really, really, really cool. I mean, it's how does your wife feel about that whole side of things? The Godless character, as it were, persona, whatever.
Didn't really pay too much attention.
Doesn't take any interest whatsoever.
Not much interest, no.
Right. It's a man cave thing.
Well, she...
Because I've seen you in your man cave with your mic and your headphones.
Yeah. She definitely, I think, she respects my ability to debate. She respects my...
so do I. I think it's a wonderful fucking skill that you have.
Well, it's undeveloped, but,
but you have the key thing, as somebody who would consider himself somebody who likes a debate, you have the key thing that, for me, is absolutely essential in a debate, and that is a complete and total lack of emotion. Because you bring emotion into the debate. Guess what the debate's now called? It's called an argument.
Well, I'll tell you.
You cannot bring emotion into a debate.
I was on a podcast once to.
By the way, that's why it's impossible to win an argument with a woman. By the way,
I had to hang up. I had to leave.
Yeah,
I was outraged, and
So you had to go before you said
happened.
something you'd fucking regret.
Yeah,
Or
and
just something that was just downright.
it was just a situation where I felt like I'd been set up to fail,
Yeah.
rather than being.
You were a patsy. You were cannon fodder.
Rather than being, put into a situation where this is actually going to be an interesting conversation, and so yeah, I was like, I was out. But so I'm certainly guilty of it. But
There was a TV show that I watched as a kid. I don't know how many years ago it was. I don't know how old I was. I might have been fucking 19. I might have been 25. So no offense, probably that's not a kid, is it? You're a fucking human being at that age. But I watched Gore Vidal debate 3 priests on it was a BBC show or something like that. And
It's gotta be on YouTube.
I know. I'm just talking about it now. I was thinking, you just reminded me of that show, and I hadn't thought that for years.
That
I
Gore
thought,
Vidal
you've got to
movie-
be able to find that on TV. Debates 3 priests.
Yeah.
He wins.
yeah,
He fucking wins.
yeah.
I mean, it is just.
Well, it's one of the most insufferable things. Like you could see, like I don't know if that Stephen Fry clip that you were talking about earlier is on the web, but you'll see like debates or clips where the person who definitely won is in the description a theist will have said Stephen Fry completely
Slapped down.
being smacked down, and it's
Yeah.
like you listen to it and you're like, how in the world did you get that out? It's the opposite.
Yeah.
But it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of to tie. It's funny because in a way, another reason that the Godless name felt like the right one to go with is, in so many ways, my love for this genre of music was tied to first my theism and then my atheism. It was a part of it because metal is one of the only places where religion is talked about.
Well, and to a certain extent, frowned upon.
Frowned upon, yeah, certainly.
Frankly, treated like the con that it is.
Yeah.
It's looked down upon. It's looked as something that is used to prey upon the weak.
Yeah.
It's
definitely. Let me tell this story after this quick thing, but my attraction to metal is very different from what a lot of other people's attraction to metal has been. I think that's what I've found talking to people. For a lot of people, metal was all about this community and about being angry and needing something to kind of express it. I don't know, whatever.
Not me.
Okay,
not me. I think we may. Well, carry on.
For me, metal was a music that was solo. It was mine and mine alone. It was when you go to a metal show. Yeah, there's people headbanging in unison and stuff like that. But most of the time, like you look at just moshing. Moshing is about a bunch of guys independently doing their own thing, or girls doing their own thing and slamming into each other.
Yeah.
And how awesome is that, right? Whereas, you listen to like, old school rock and roll or samba music or something like that. It's dancing with a couple. There's line dancing and country music and all that stuff. And I never wanted to get in a line. I never wanted to learn steps that I need to follow. I wanted my own thing. I'm going to do it however I want to do it, and that's why I love metal. And I was never an angry kid. My parents just were together until my mom passed away.
That was never me either. No, so what was the other thing that you wanted to say?
Oh, so the
story,
the tie, real quick to So I was born again Christian in the Assembly of God, actively participating in the youth group.
And by the way, it just freaks me out. Yeah. Like you're hearing this coming out of your mouth. It's just really freaky.
But at the same time, you look at me and you're like, yeah, much more likely that he's like that than he is, a metalhead. So I go to the big, like, all the youth groups in the area getting together in this high school gym for a big presentation. And they got 3 huge screens in this gym, and they turned the lights down low. I'm sitting in the front frickin' row for this thing because this is going to be awesome. And, they got the lights and the lasers start and the music starts. They got fog machines. And all these kids were all sitting there. It must be a few hundred of us, just for this big presentation. And they start flashing images in all these screens, and it was all these like good, awesome Christian things, like there's Jesus and there's good people doing good things, and there's a band, and then like the lights changed, but then they throw up like a picture of Angus Young.
All right.
And I was like, I stood up in my chair and I went fist right up in the air, like, yeah! Because it was Angus frickin' Young. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the lights had turned red, and now we'd segued into the bad, evil stuff.
Yeah.
I missed that completely.
Oh, dear.
So I kind of like slowly go back down into my chair, and it was like just that immediate moment that I realized, and this is after like 2 years of really active participation, I realized I don't belong.
Right.
Metal told me I didn't belong.
Wow.
Angus Young told me I didn't belong.
Right.
And so while I had been listening to all this Christian rock and Christian metal to try to like get, the music that I had loved.
But also stay on the right path.
Right.
Yeah.
I realized, no.
Yeah.
The better stuff is over there.
Funnily enough, Devil's got the best tunes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah.
But also to me, part of like, I think the message of Christianity, and that was being demonstrated in those images that are presented, is these are all the things that are good. These are all things that you should like. And you know what? Angus Young is good, and you should like him.
Yeah.
So why would I care whether one of his songs is called Highway to Hell? Why should that matter? It's still good. It still made millions of people, maybe billions at this point, freaking hear AC/DC on the radio every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Billions of people happier.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is more Christian than that?
Absolutely. But religion has had a problem with music for years. Because basically you have your gospel and everything else. It loves music when it suits it.
Yeah.
When it's praising God and it's keeping everybody in line. But you go back, you go back and back and back, and this is the devil's. Before heavy metal, the devil's music was someone else.
Yeah,
it's the blues.
It's Elvis.
The blues.
Yeah,
it was Elvis.
Yeah.
It was like I couldn't believe the controversy over Eminem. Remember when he first came out, and it was just like it was Elvis all over again. I was like, really. Really? Are we doing this again? Has no one learned anything? A white guy doing black music, and because it's a white guy doing it, white kids are getting into it, and they're taking it home, and white parents are getting offended by music that has been around for a decade in the hood.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, it's all happening again.
I'm listening to...
It's just a false controversy.
Yesterday morning, I'm listening to this great podcast I've listened to for years and years.
Oh, thank you very much.
and they were talking about, politically liberal for the most part. And they had this guy on, and he's talking about why he thinks porn needs to be regulated at this point. And it's like, we've gone through this before. We've gone through it over and over again. That all of the, he was trying to tie it to Me Too, and saying, oh, well, because online porn is now more prevalent, it's making sexual predators out of people. And I'm like, there's no evidence of that whatsoever.
Hang on, can I just say, yeah, I'll tell you what, why don't you take possibly the only industry where women are the boss, because there is fucking 10 male porn stars to every one female porn star. That is because the females are less likely to do porn. So sorry, there's 10 female
to one
stars
male, yeah.
to one male.
And the females get paid a hell of a lot more.
And they're in charge. They're the boss.
Yep.
They say who they work with. Yep. They're the ones that, and also, since the advent of the internet, they set up their own studios. They're no longer in hock.
Yep.
The same way that it's mirrored in the traditional movie business.
Even more than that, I think Rolling Stone had an article on this a couple weeks ago. Now they're doing their webcam stuff. They're shooting themselves, editing themselves.
Shooting themselves. Let's just put that into context. They're shooting movies of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And they're doing everything for themselves. They're making their own money.
Yeah.
They have no boss.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we take possibly the most feminist fucking industry there is out there, and on the back of #MeToo, ruin all those women's livelihood. Yeah. Take their power away.
Oh, it makes me sick. Makes me sick. And, yes, there's an argument to be made over whether certain parts of acts that are done in porn, and whether these are perhaps not necessarily the most feminist positive things that can be done. All that. Take it, but throw it all out, because nobody can regulate this correctly.
Well, not only that, but nobody can regulate the internet.
Yes.
Okay, and also, I say this when, I had somebody on my Facebook page recently saying, I found out, that I went to the Britain First page, racist organisation, and I found out there's 65 of my friends have liked that page. It's and I've reported the Britain First page, it's race hate and it should be taken down. Now my attitude is, leave that fucker up. Mm-hmm. I want to know.
Yeah.
You take that down, you didn't know that you're not going to find out you've got 65 racist friends.
Yeah.
Now you do. Keep it out in the open.
Yeah.
Always keep unpopular opinion out in the open.
Yeah.
We know where they are. Uh-huh. You drive it underground, then it's a mystery.
Yeah.
The guy who owns that shop, we didn't know that he was a racist. It was underground. We need to know that shop owner's a racist so we can not shop there.
Exactly.
It makes absolutely no sense when people go around wanting to ban this but the point I'm making to porn is, no, don't ban it.
Yeah.
Because you'll drive it underground, the conditions will be worse. Mm-hmm. And you open the door to the underground, it's going to get a lot fucking worse. You need to keep everything out in the open. Everything out in the open. Yep. Because the minute you start to try and ban stuff, you can't regulate it. It's Pandora's box. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, and every other fucking glib fucking phrase that you can think of that is centuries old because it makes sense. The reason why those phrases still exist today is they're fucking true.
Yeah.
That's why cliches. You can call something a cliche, but it's the word is hundreds of years old, and that's because it's hung around this long because it's true. Mm-hmm. And you can't. You can't. It's just fucking Jesus Christ. I mean, I know it sounds crazy that it's two guys advocating that porn should not be regulated in any way.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's but okay, if you can listen to this and actually take that out of it, what we're saying here, it does make sense. It is, neither of us have got we ain't got a dog in this fight. My wife is, my girlfriend or wife or whatever is not involved in porn.
Right.
Okay, and if she was, maybe I would want it regulated, but she's not. And that's because great, I don't have a dog in this fight. Therefore, I'm able to be objective. Mm-hmm. Objectivity is what is key when it comes to lawmaking, regulation making, and everything else. So being objective, whether we're two men or not, or this could be two women. The point is valid. The point is sound. Mm-hmm. That women are in charge in the porn industry. They call the shots. They make the money.
And there's an argument to be made to perhaps there ought to be some regulation only in the regard of nobody is feeling compelled financially or otherwise to do things that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't even know how you do that. So, and the problem is that you got the unexpected consequences of all those things.
Yeah. I saw a tweet from Tara Patrick the other day, right? Uh-huh. Tara, however you pronounce it, right? And she put this tweet out and says, I'm seeing a lot of guys out there saying you love me. Guys, you don't love me. My husband loves me. Mm-hmm. You jerk off. You like my pussy, you like my tits, you like my scenes, you like my sex toys, and all of that. But you don't love me.
Yeah.
Less talking, more jerking.
Yeah.
And it's just Every single person that follows Tara Patrick just got fucking owned.
And they're happy to do what she says.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was just like, this is,
and you know what? They love her more for it.
yeah. Take the power back. Beat me. Tell me I'm worthless. Tell me I don't love you. Yeah, that's great. But, you just think, you want to take that away? Do you? Sister?
Yeah.
Do you? Or guy? Whoever it is that's driving this. And you know what? They're driving this agenda. And if you pick that agenda up and you look underneath, there's going to be a hallmark, and it's going to be your fucking Christian hallmark. It's just, yeah.
And, sort of to tie it to metal a little bit, the big, sort of one of the overarching controversies of the last few years has certainly, been, whether social justice, sort of liberal ideologies are, somehow preventing metal from being its extremes and all that sort of thing. To me, I just don't buy that argument. But I respect the argument. I think it may have some purchase. But as a thrash guy, it's always been freaking Anthrax singing about the Indians. Iron Maiden singing about the Indians. It's always been about Anthrax singing about the homeless. All of those. Jello Biafra talking about social justice in the 80s, and that has always been a part of metal. And I think that's why I believe that, like, when people get really upset when Phil Anselmo is a Nazi, it doesn't feel foreign that people are upset about that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a manufactured controversy. It feels like a genuine outrage.
It's and I've always felt like, with Napalm Death and these other bands talking about things like, reducing nuclear weapons, and you don't get that in pop.
Well, not only that, but why don't we go back like 30 years, right? Girls' School, Rock Goddess, female metal bands, making a living, touring, playing with Motorhead, playing with other bands, playing festivals. I can remember 30 years ago, as a 17-year-old kid, I didn't bat a fucking eyelid.
Yeah.
It made absolutely no difference to me. It wasn't like, oh my god, it's just another metal band.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the metal community recognises good bands. Don't matter. You're black. Oh God! Doesn't matter if you're black or white. For fuck's sake, am I really going to go there?
I guess pop does talk about it every once in a while.
But it doesn't matter if it's black, or if you're black or white or Chinese or male or female or rich or poor or middle class, or it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
What's the metal like? You are going to be judged on your music.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
This scene does not recognise anything other than the music. People will have the piss taken out of them for, fucking baby metal, come on. I fucking hate it, and you fucking love it. But the point is, totally embraced.
Yeah.
Totally embraced by this scene.
Yeah.
I might add to its detriment, but, yeah.
And it's like that black metal movement is only a small part of the, history of metal,
murder and church burning and stuff like that. That's got more to do with mental illness than it has with heavy metal.
But like this idea that some of those bands have got some Nazi ideologies. Look at, was it Destruction 666 or Destroyer 666? Nazis. They're just Nazis. It's all right. Go, don't go, whatever. But it ain't my shit.
Yeah. But again, don't ban them. Don't stop them playing festivals. I want to see him. I want to see him do a gig because I want to see who turns up and goes down the front and goes, "Yay! Now I know."
I disagree with you on the festival.
Now I know. There's more racists.
Yeah, but
there's more Nazis.
As far as the festivals are concerned, I think that you curate a festival. There's somebody or there's a team of people who are curating who's going to show up because. They want to...
Unfortunately, there is, because we don't get on a lot of festivals.
But they want to, project, a certain amount of quality that represents the festival brand, and they want to provide bands that they're going to want that audience to really enjoy and associate with their festival. So I don't think putting a Nazi band on a festival bill is
Yeah, but to be fair, is this even a discussion?
It barely happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Barely
exactly.
happens, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, look, that is 1 hour, 10 minutes of pure Godless there.
Well, sort of.
No, absolutely. I just want to say it's been a pleasure spending the last 28 hours in your company.
Good. Yeah, vice versa.
In half an hour.
You survived.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and you. It's like you can't believe it, and neither can I.
No. See, for me, it's easy because I know, like, I throw out a topic and you're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But ditto.
Time flies by.
But exactly. It's like I know that's going to happen. Wherever this comes out, whether it's my Patreon, whether it's mine and your Patreon.
Yeah.
This is for people who want to see behind the curtain to a certain extent. I personally, I think this would go down really well on your, as a final Patreon offering. For your guys, for certainly a little bit more of a background on you as you say goodbye, as it were.
Yeah.
But that's up to you. I'll make the file available, and you can do with it whatever you want.
Yeah. But
it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure it's not not the last time we're going to do it.
I got to say, when the reunion show for the Beyond came up, would I have come over here and figured out how to get my ass to Derby on my own? No. I wouldn't have made the investment or anything. But to be able to do so and get to be able to spend this amount of time with you and be able to see a band that I love, that was a slam dunk.
Oh, cool, man. Well, that is really nice of you to say so. Thank you very much.
True.
Thank you very much. This is in danger of becoming very sexy. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, and like I said, I threw it out there to you as soon as I saw, because I just thought, I know how much you love the Beyond, and this is literally a one-off, a chance not to be missed,
right?
And also I knew that you would actually be capable of getting from Dublin to London to my house, and us being able, do you know what I mean?
Man,
there's plenty of people I could have told that there's going, it's like, they're not going to get to the end of their street.
I used to do road managing all the time back in the day,
right.
And did that for years. I could do anything in an airport. I knew how to get to wherever. If the car breaks down, I'll figure it out. All that sort of stuff. Man, since I got married, I don't control any of my travel. Yeah. So I get really anxious now because it's been so long since I was sort of left to my own devices getting from point A to point B. But figured out how to do it, thank goodness.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do you a favour. And do you a favour. Do you know what I'm going to do? When's your birthday? What?
Yeah.
When is it?
I don't celebrate my birthday.
You don't celebrate your birthday?
Yeah.
Okay. That's absolutely fine.
All right, cool.
When's your birthday? I didn't ask you if you celebrated your birthday. I asked you when your fucking birthday was.
I don't even recognize it.
Which month?
January.
It's just passed. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a Christmas present. For Christmas, I'm going to, which I'm sure you celebrate, I'm going to get you a sewing machine. Okay?
A sewing machine?
Yeah. So you can sew your balls back on.
I am very, very happily married.
Yeah, I know, and I'm very pleased for you. I'm pleased for your kid. You're going to get to spend more time with him instead of in your man cave doing podcasts. But hopefully, we won't see the last of you.
That'd be great.
Because I, for one, will miss you, and I speak for the entire metal community in this particular instance. Godless, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Man. And there's Godless there. It was kind of like, as you see, we went quite deep, quite dark. I was quite surprised by that. I was surprised that we still had something to talk about, having spent the previous 36 hours doing nothing but jibber-jabbing in each other's ears having done, an hour podcast on the way to the gig and an hour podcast back as well, which you can all be listening to very soon. And, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm hoping to have Godless on, as and when. I'd like to get him on being a little bit more of a permanent fixture. He's, just trying to decide how he wants to play things, at the moment, which is perfectly understandable. And fucking hell, honestly, this is just crazy shit going on. Every time I'm recorded the last bit about an hour ago. Normally I'm smashing through this, but the tablet is really struggling. So what I'm going to actually have to do is I'm recording each bit separately, and then I'm uploading them individually and then sharing them with Craig, who is then going to download them and piece them together into one beautiful big MP3 type podcast file. It's absolutely insane. That was just good old cable fell out the back of the mic again. I don't know. I wish there was a way to stop that happening, but there seriously isn't. Okay. So yeah, all sorts of crazy goings on, trying to make sure that you all get what you want when you want it. So doing our best here, guys. Doing our best. So where were we? The new Tool album apparently is prog at its most atmospheric, says Sebastian Bach. Yeah, that's right. King shit of not a lot is basically trying to lay out the, it's going to sound great. Yeah, the new Tool up. I wouldn't take Sebastian Bach's opinion on fucking the quality of some eggs. I don't know why I've gone for eggs, but I wouldn't take his word of quality on eggs, as it happens, or potatoes, or sweet potatoes, or onions, or grapes, or kumquats. I'm just fucking talking shit here. You get where I'm coming from. I don't trust his word on it. And I certainly don't trust his word on when it comes to fucking getting Skid Row back together, because that's not happening. That's right, Godless, it's not happening. I've talked to you about that before. And Dave the Snake Sabo, he seems to have dropped the snake. Funny that, isn't it? How getting older, he's decided to drop the euphemism for his penis between his first and last name. Always felt that was a little bit over the top myself. Do you know what I mean? Calling yourself basically Dave the Cock Sabo. I mean, over here that's like the cock as in you are a cock. You're a fucking cock, mate. You're a cock. The cock means the cock of cocks. You're the cock of cocks. You're the worst cock, or the best at being the worst cock. The best cock at being the worst cock. There's a lot of cocks involved. That's all. I mean, it just seems a bit weird, Randy Blythe, could have gone Dave. Could have gone Dave Blythe. Still amazed. Still amazed he went for Randy. Dave Blythe, mate. It's Dave Blythe. That's what your name is. Although I did hear that apparently it is Bly. That is the correct pronunciation. But you know me, never one to listen to anybody. So it's Randy Blythe. But funnily enough, there was something he mentioned earlier that I did want to go back to. On the school shootings, I know, not a very not a very heavy metal subject, but on the school shootings recently, I just thought he was really cool. He just said, "Look, we need to do something because thoughts and prayers ain't working." And I just thought, boom, dude, just fucking laid it out there for everybody. Yeah, thoughts and prayers ain't working. Sort it out. Now, something else I'm a little bit late on, and I apologise about this if you're already aware of them, and that is the wonderful, nay, the beautiful Lost in Vegas. George and Ryan from Lost in Vegas on YouTube, okay? They are fucking brilliant. George and Ryan here with another George and Ryan with another unbiased real reaction coming at you. Shout out to our three frinkers. How you living? That's the intro to nearly every video. Basically, they're two guys who know a lot about hip-hop, and they've slowly got into metal, and it's a fucking joy listening to them, watching their really spot-on sometimes take down, but invariably the way they interpret music is perfect. For guys coming from a completely different genre, they are looking at metal completely on its own, totally unbiased, not looking at, anything that it brings to the table, other than, right, is this any good? Is this stuff any good? And to see them rave about metal bands and go off about what brilliant musicians some of these guys are is just phenomenal. Honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. You will disappear down a Lost in Vegas YouTube rabbit hole one night. You really will, because they are just awesome to watch. Every time I get a notification on my phone that they've posted a new reaction to a metal tune, I just puts a smile on my face. And not only do they get it spotted on, not only do they get it spot on, but on a couple of tracks, they've actually expanded my understanding of those songs. Very, very intuitive understanding of lyrics from both of them, and it's a sight to behold. It really is. I don't know what it is that makes it feel so special. Every time I see these guys, I just want to reach into my TV and give them a big fucking hug. Just go, thanks guys, thanks, fucking love it. Because when they love something, they love it, and they are really, really, they've been welcomed into the world of metal, and they are fucking, honestly, just watch some. It's amazing. And a song by one band. It was Blackbird by oh fucking hell! I wish I knew. Oh, I shouldn't have said this, should I? The band that was formed from the ashes of Creed. Oh God, I can't remember their name. That's really annoying. I'm sorry. I am going to have to look it up. But anyway, they were talking about the song Blackbird, and they played it, and wow, what a tune! What a tune! I genuinely haven't really played this band much. And don't get me wrong, it's not my kind of thing, really. As in, it's not my kind of regular listen. But for an actual one-off song, the way they broke the lyrics down, examined the guitars and the transitions, they're very keen on transitions, or as you call them, changes. But really, that song just, I was really, really blown away by it. And I guess it's really kind of opened my eyes in some ways that these guys have gone on and they've created their own YouTube channel, and yes, it's just talking about music, but it's the way they do it. It's the passion. They know what they're talking about. Alter Bridge, thank you. Sorry it's taken that long. Alter Bridge, Blackbird, great tune. But these guys have also played some bits of other bands that I like, and I've thought, I haven't heard anything off that album, and thought, bloody hell, that's fucking really good, and dived in. So, like I said, George and Ryan, how you living? I really, I cannot suggest strongly enough that you check them out. It's not for everybody, but it's just a really good time. And like I said, when you see metal being appreciated properly by musicians who know what the fuck they're talking about, it really does, puts a spring in your step. And rolling straight on, let's talk about somebody else who knows what they're talking about and puts your spring in your step. It's Chris McGarel. Journalist with mainly prog, but also little bits of Metal Hammer here and there. But Chris and I met one of the places where I do a pub quiz, and he was walking through and he wore a beanie with Voivod on it, and I kind of went, oh. And we got talking, and there we are. I think I talk about this in the interview, so probably don't want to talk too much about this. But we cover all sorts of shit here, including what is prog exactly? That's right. We ask that very question. So, this was Chris and I meeting up a few weeks ago and having a chat. Enjoy. Dun, 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 dun. Hello, so I am in the pub. This is, funnily enough, you're sat in the exact spot where Bruce Dickinson was sat when I met him.
I'm trying not to stare right through you right now in a very awkward manner.
So you've heard that bit then?
I've heard that anecdote, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was as disappointed as you were with that encounter.
I tried to keep it off the podcast as long as I could, certainly when the book had just come out, because I was conscious that he's one of the good guys. We all feel he's one of the good guys, and that experience was just disappointing to say the least. So anyway, here I am with Chris McGarel, who I met because I do the pub quiz here every week. I run the quiz, and you walked through wearing a Voivod beanie, didn't you?
I did, yeah. You're always representing Voivod, yeah.
Absolutely, and here we are.
Yeah.
But we actually ended up that night, didn't we, texting about Marillion.
That's right, yeah. We exchanged phone numbers and we said, look, we've got to meet and have a chat, because we obviously had a love of thrash and esoteric thrash, if you like, with Voivod. And then, we were chatting about Marillion and what an influence they had been on both of us. And I was, obviously I knew of Acid Rain, and it was, obviously a delight to meet you. Obviously, as everyone is. But to find out that you were also a Marillion fan and they'd made such an impact on your life was quite something for me to find out. This month's podcast is going to be coming out. So this month, it's January, we're meeting up now. It's going to come out at the end of this month, and that's the one I've got Fish on. Yeah.
So I am. It was an amazing experience. It really was. And there's more to tell, because obviously on the Christmas podcasts I put up, I recorded all the Christmas podcasts in the afternoon before going to the gig. So everyone's had the lead-up story as to what happened.
Yeah.
And then there's the what happened when I went to the gig, which I'll tell you all about off mic. But needless to say, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I've met Fish a couple of times. I've never spent a long time in his company. But he's just such a giant of a man, literally. But also, in the kind of impact that he has had on people's lives.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a writer now without Fish's lyrics. It had such an impact on my life when I was a teenager.
Yeah, I had very much the same experience. In fact, during the interview, he said to me, look, I'm a writer who can sing. And I said in the interview, yeah, I'm very much the same. And do you know what? That's the first time ever that I've actually really found the way of putting things into words. Because often band members have said, it depends, when you were writing this, when you're thinking about a particular melody line or a particular rhythm. And I've always thought, not at all, no, if I'm writing lyrics, I am writing words. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of where they're going to end up. And that's why usually I'm such a nightmare in the studio, because I have to pull words out and all the because I haven't written with music in mind. I've just written to make my point, and that's kind of that all comes from that early exposure at 13, 14 years old to these sonnets that Fish used to write.
Oh yeah, I was listening to the Fugazi album last night. The density of the words in putting them into a line.
Yeah.
It must have been a nightmare for the other musicians. Fish, do you really want to do this? But they just work so well, and his phrasing and the nuances he gets from his voice, because massively influenced by Peter Hamill from Van de Graaff Generator. Who's my favourite vocalist of all time. I think he's incredible. He was called the Jimi Hendrix of the voice. And you can hear that in Fish, and just the way he intones certain things, and the way he can go from a really sweet. Think of the start of Script for a Jester's Tear.
Oh yeah.
Here I am once more in the playground of broken hearts. Just such lovely sort of medieval style of phrasing and the tone of his voice, and then he can get really hard in stuff like the Fugazi title track. Really vicious. It's that dynamic range that he has. He wasn't the greatest singer of all time, far from it, but just the emotions that he can put into one line, just incredible.
And I mean, there's singers and there's vocalists. I definitely consider myself to be in the second group, but ultimately, I think everybody knows what emoting lyrics means now, because X Factor and Britain's Got Talent has rammed it down everyone's faces. But it is the ability to communicate what you're saying in a way that you mean it. The same way that an actor, owns their lines and becomes that character. That's why they have mental breakdowns and things like that. Look, H, Massive Rain, that's a character. Do you know what I mean? Me on stage with the band and all the rest. That's all. That is a character. But the writing of the lyrics, the putting together of the music, that's very much me. That's from the heart. Exactly. That's Howard. And I think that's an important distinction to make as well, which is studio and live. Because there's people who are great in the studio, and they, at live, they just can't seem to, create that same kind of, or create an atmosphere, an engaging atmosphere or persona. Whereas some people might not be that great in the studio, but they bring it to life live.
But also, you can tell when someone's phoning it in. You can tell a good actor from a bad actor. You can tell someone who's emoting falsely, which is basically I sound like a granddad now, but that's kind of what we have in modern music nowadays, in pop music. It's false emoting. The wailing of a voice now means emotion. So holding out one note and going up and down for a while means you really mean it. And the plethora of 80s pop tunes that are being covered in breathless female vocals. Do you know what I mean? Her name is Rio. And all just like it, and some of these advertising companies have bought into this as well. So we've now just got a lot of breathless female cover versions, which apparently are that makes it a lot more touching and sensitive, as opposed to ruining the original. I think we have kind of lost something in the artistic world there, because I do, again, I'm going to sound like a granddad, but do kids these days listen to music, and can they actually tell real emotion from false emotion, or is it just all a bit of a muchness?
It's interesting you say, because if you go into the world of metal, we are by no means immune from this, because what you're describing reminds me very much of. I hear a lot of stuff now where I think, hey, this has got, there's some riffs and this has got potential. Oh, the vocals are pretty good. Yeah, that's okay. Then it goes to the chorus. Oh, different guys doing the chorus. Oh, no, it's the same bloke, isn't it? It's the same bloke who 2 seconds ago was going, and the chorus comes in and it's, hey, everybody. And I just think, really? I mean, for me, this kind of, it almost started with sort of Fear Factory. Which was a lot more subtle, and then Corey and Slipknot kind of brought it on a bit. We now have a whole genre, I don't know what you call it, of bands where it's one vocalist and it's clean and aggressive singing, and I don't know, I end up feeling like both end up sounding disingenuous, because it's like, well, I don't believe this guy is really angry, and I don't know, it's the clashing of the two styles. I think, and I think that, Corey and Slipknot, they do it so well. That is why they are where they are. That's why they can play stadiums all over the world. That's why they can lose members and still keep going. Because you're talking about the voice of a generation. And when bands below, in the tiers below, do that thing, for me, I just get turned off. I couldn't name one of them that I like.
Yeah, I think they're only picking up on the very superficial elements of what makes Corey so good. I mean, if you think of Duality and that the harsh vocal with the absolutely brilliant clean vocal as well.
Yeah.
That's when it's done really well, and that is the Jekyll and Hyde. That is the duality, and that's what you can feel. That we all have different. We have our animal instincts, and we have our if you want to get into Freudian stuff, we've got your ego and your superego and your id, but we're all made up of those different sides to our personality, and Corey really nails that.
Yeah.
And Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth, those death growls, he really means those. But when he sings clean, my God, he's one of the greatest male vocalists I've ever heard. And so there are a few paragons that you can hold up and say, these guys do it really well. But you're right, whenever people just try to mimic what they're doing, they do it in a half-arsed way.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a kind of generic mush.
Yeah,
and it lacks emotion.
Well, also, I think the key to what Corey does is that in his growly stuff, there's still melody. There's still an incredible voice there.
Yeah.
Even when he's really fucking going for it, he's still never like treading on death metal. Style vocal. He is still smacking it out. And then you hear, and then I hear like I said, bands like the Tears Below, and they've gone for I'm going to do absolute fucking total growling death metal dirge here, and then I'm going to go really clean and really great. And funnily enough, speaking of Corey and Slipknot being the masters of this, one of their albums. Oh shit! I'm just trying to think which one it was. The one with Psychosocial on.
Oh, I can't remember.
Here goes Memory Time.
Yeah.
People are shouting at the speakers.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake! Well, that album, it went too far for me because I thought the heavy stuff was fucking great, but it had gone to these are almost Nickelback choruses, wedged onto Slipknot stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually preferred the last album because it wasn't as much as that. But again, I just think the two extremes. If it was two singers, I'd be like, okay, maybe. Who am I kidding? I still probably wouldn't like it. And in some cases, it is two singers. It's not something that I can find myself getting into.
Yeah.
But
those are. I mean, we started talking about this because of Fish and his.
We did. I tell you what, you're very good at this because you're used to doing the interview, so you've actually got us back to the original point. Whereas I would have gone off on another fucking tangent, as you know.
but you're right there, because we started talking about the extremes of harsh and clean, whereas there are obviously shades of grey in between. Mm-hmm. No pun intended on Slipknot there. But,
very good. Very good.
Professional writer. It's it's interesting to get your take on this as a vocalist yourself. Do you find yourself thinking, whenever you're recording out the mic, do you find yourself having different voices? You do, but I think it's. The weird thing about recording is, I can only speak about my experience, is that I am so focused on delivering every line the best you can, and being in that kind of space whereby you are just giving it everything. I mean, singing in the studio is just so different. Laying down one song in the studio is harder than doing an entire gig. Right.
Because for a start, you're in there longer.
Yeah.
You're singing harder.
Yeah.
It's not the running around, but believe you me, it's fucked. And I get in such a focus that I don't actually relax. What I'll usually do is once we've got the whole thing in the can, I'll listen back and say, oh, can I do this here or can I do that here? And invariably, the producer will always say, stop, you're done. it's over. And it's like, yeah, but I'm just starting to enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of odd, but it's literally, you're so focused that you're not conscious of actually enjoying what you're doing. You know, or it's, I'm not explaining this very well. Just go into, I just tend to go into another place, and I'm very easily, I will work, whoever I'm recording vocals with, I will work with them. I'm all about the collaboration. Do you know what I mean? I won't go in and say, right, this is set in stone, this is how I am going to do it. And I'd be very disappointed if somebody just sat down and went, yeah, great, next line, yeah, great. It's like, no, I want to be challenged. I want somebody to say, hey, what about this idea? Or, well, you see what you're doing there? You could just do that instead, and that would, and so you've always got to be kind of open, I think. You've always got to be open, because that person has got, you know, the third person perspective, whereas you are tunnel vision in a booth, you know, just going for it.
So from demo to final recorded artifact,
world of difference.
It's a work in progress the whole way along.
World of difference. I mean, I played our last single, The Man Who Became Himself, to a few people. I played the demo of it to a few people, and they were like, oh yeah, it's alright, yeah, it's pretty cool, yeah. And then I played them the finished article, and they're like, fucking hell, it's just like totally different. It's like, well, yeah, a demo is it's a demonstration. It is a guide, and that is all. And you know, that's very much. I mean, I've got 8 demos on my phone of new stuff, and it's all work in progress. You know, and it's just shifting all the time. I mean, one of the songs has been completely rearranged from the version that's on my phone, so I can't even listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
There's those stages, but the different kind of voices you were asking about. Yes, I think there is. As long as I'm always keen to keep the integrity of the song. Do you know what I mean?
And it comes back to, as you said earlier, the message that you're trying to get across in the lyrics.
Yes. So we've got a new song that's going to be on the next album, which is about a horror film, and that will require a different kind of delivery because it's about horror film. It's about a particular horror film. And so that will require a different delivery to all of the other songs on the album. And one of the songs is quite snide, and that's kind of got a snidey kind of vocal line to it. But the vocal line is a bit snide. I won't deliver it snidely. Do you know what I mean? I'm disappearing at my own arse, but that's kind of.
It's an interesting insight into how a lyricist and a vocalist can be different people within the one.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, and I think again, there's going to be a song in the next album where there's a chorus. Which is quite light compared so that it's musically light and it's melodically light. It's a chorus, but the song is very intense. The lyrics are very intense, and the lyrics are very intense to the chorus as well, because the melody is light. And the music, well, the melody, the whole chorus is light. You still have to retain the integrity of the delivery, whilst at the same time retaining the melody as well. So it's kind of like, you know, you're battling for the vocals to have the same impact they do in the verse. But this is, you know, it's just, this is a bit more melodious. It's a bit more kind of like, it's a bit softer, if you like, but it's still got to retain the impact. Yeah. So it's constantly a kind of, you know, a juggling act.
Yeah.
And I think some people, there's a you can overemphasize it. There's a line on one of the demos where I talk about a song where it says, and still feeling weak. And something I did on the demo, which I don't like, is I'm still feeling weak, and pronounce the word weakly. Right. And it's like, no, that's the absolute opposite of what you want to be doing, because that's too on the nose. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's like an actor coming on and going, right, you know, it says on this page, be angry. Yeah. And they're like all angry. And it's like, well, you can be angry by saying that same script in a really calm, very focused manner. Yeah. And that will be just as angry as stomping around.
But I mean, let the lyrics speak for themselves rather than overhamming it.
Well, Yeah, and it's funny you should say that, because I've had this conversation a few times on the podcast about, I'd be interested to get your input on this, which would be, you know, the lost art of lyric writing, or is it becoming a lost art? I mean, we have lyric videos now, which, you know, we did one for the last album because it was free, so you know, that explains that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against them, but it's almost like that's that we are now reduced to the bouncing ball to try and get people to engage with what we're fucking saying.
That's true. But I mean, YouTube is a delivery mechanism for music. If you want to get your stuff heard, YouTube is one of the organs that where you can get your stuff heard.
Well, but for people under 30, it is by far and away 67% or something like that.
Right.
For people under 30, it's YouTube.
They're not just going to look at a band logo and listen to the song. There needs to be some visual aid there. And unfortunately, you're right. It could be the karaoke bouncing ball with lyrics coming up. And it's a cheap way of doing it, but it's one way of doing it just to get your music out there. I've seen recently a few bands doing just kind of, you know, those visualizer plugins that you used to get for Winamp. So it would just be like a waveform that goes with the music. People have actually put some of those out. You know, actual professional bands and professional labels have put those out as legitimate videos, legitimate in inverted commas. Because they think that this is going to be some sort of visual aid to help people to engage with the song. It's just not. It's just I'd almost rather just see a scrolling Star Wars scroll of the lyrics rather than this half-arsed visualizer plug-in.
But this is what I mean. It's with obviously the sales of physical products continuing to decrease. This is what I mean. It's like, you know, brackets, you know, inverted commas, kids these days going out of their way to find out what a band's saying, or are they just not really that bothered? This is what I mean by, you know, the lost art of lyric writing.
Yeah, I'm not so cynical yet as to think that people don't give a crap anymore about song lyrics. I think they are extremely important, and if they're good, then people hopefully respond to the art of lyric writing, because it is an art. We need that.
Well, the thing is, as well, is I remember having a discussion with a girl I worked with once, and she was like, "Oh, I love my music. Yeah, I love my music." I was like, "Oh, right, what bands?" No, it's compilations, really, more compilations. I was like, right, okay. What kind of music? Well, it's like, you know, house, garage, all stuff like that. I was like, right, okay. And what about, what about lyrics? I'm not bothered about words. I'm not really bothered about what they say. And I was like, you know, face palm. It's like, people who listen to the podcast know I always go on about this point, but publishing, as in when a band gets paid for their music, it's distributed 50% to the lyric writer and 50% to the writer of the music.
Right, yeah.
Unless there's an internal agreement otherwise, that is how the music industry separates revenue for songs, for music. Yeah. That is what is generally agreed, as in the words are as 50% of the deal.
What if you're purely an instrumental band? There's a lot of post-rock bands and math rock.
Well, you get 100%, don't you? No, sorry. Everyone gets an even share, apart from the bass player, obviously.
But I mean, this reminds me of Frank Zappa, because all he wanted to ever do was write orchestral music, and he wrote, you know, crazy songs about women not being able to achieve orgasm, and crazy, what were seen as risque lyrics. But they're the albums and the songs that sold. But they allowed him to have a fund where he could hire the London Symphony Orchestra in order to do his orchestral music. Yeah. So, I don't know. I always gravitate towards lyrics, because we're going back to Fish again, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, aren't we? We can't avoid it.
We can't avoid it. He is the fish in the room. I just love good lyrics, but they're not the be all and end all. I listen to classical music.
I agree,
I listen to jazz. I listen to as I said, post rock, math rock, whatever. I don't need to have lyrics, but when lyrics are done really, really well,
it adds something.
I mean, Fish, Neil Peart from Rush, just an incredible poet.
Yes, such a shame he's such an agoraphobic human being, really, isn't it? Have you read any of his books?
I haven't actually read any of them.
Don't, because my best mate, his favourite band Rush, read his books, and it's really, really coloured his view of the band, because he is just so fucking miserable, and just so basically
sounds like my kind of guy,
2 hours, 2.5 hours on stage is the low light of his day. It's basically
he wants to get on the motorbike.
He likes everything else. What he hates is doing the gig. Which is a complete 180 for most musicians.
Well, that's the day job. That's what he's paid to do.
Well, it is, but I think it depends, not everyone's the same, but as a fan, you hear that and you just think, fucking hell, really? I mean, I think everybody in the music business has had the famous cold shoulder treatment from Neil Peart.
It came out the other day, the guitarist Alex Lifeson came out and said, that's basically the end of Rush. We're not, because there were rumours that him and Geddy might do an album together, and Alex this week just came out and said that's basically, we're done. There's no plans anymore. And I'm glad. I fucking love Rush, and I have done for decades. But they've earned every right to retire gracefully. Went out on a great album, went out on a great tour. I've never met them, so I've never had to have that disappointed hero worship thing where or I've never read Neil's books. And
I was going to say, if you want the disappointed fan,
it's all there in print. Thanks for that. So I'm actually glad that they go on, and I have really fond memories. I've seen them numerous times. They're the greatest gigs I've ever seen in my life. I love them bits. That's the end of it. Good on them.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because I guess we should move on to the news that broke just a few days ago. Slayer. Hanging it up.
And again, I'm not sad about that.
I'm not either.
They were. There's going to be people shouting at me now, but Slayer are not the band now that they were when they did Green and Black, obviously, South of Heaven, Seasons in the Abyss. Jeff.
Who is?
Well, yeah, exactly. They're phenomenal, seminal albums. They were never to be repeated, but that's why they're so incredible. And I think they had a resurgence in the last few albums.
I think Repentance is a worthy album to go out on.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think the lineup they've got at the moment is immense. I'm a big fan of Gary's, big fan of Bossoff. Lombardo practically threw himself out of the band. You do the reading, you do the research, it's all out there. It wasn't a Kerry King money thing. It was a Lombardo holding the rest of the band to ransom unless I get this thing. And it was a miscalculation on his part. And Tom signed off on it as well. Tom didn't want him back in the band in the first place. And he was merely an employee as far as Tom was concerned. So that whole thing, for me, I kind of put that to bed a long time ago. And I love Bossoff as well. He's totally different from Dave, but he's a fucking beast.
Absolutely.
But also, I think the online reaction I've read everywhere has been pretty much universally, oh well, never mind. It's the end of an era. Actually, I'm quite glad going out. There's a few people saying, a few hardcore than now dickheads, they've been shit since they sold out on Rain in Blood. You always get those idiots. But then, there's a few comments like, oh well, no Lombardo equals no Slayer, etc., etc. But mostly, I've been pleasantly surprised with a lot of people going, yeah, do you know what? This is a sensible move. I'll definitely go to that tour. And I think a lot of what I've seen from a lot of people is, I'm definitely going to that. oh, I'll definitely go to that.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you announce that you're going to do one last world tour and everyone goes, yeah, one too many, not bothered.
Yeah.
You know, I think they'll roll through the UK and I'll definitely go because it's the last time I'm ever going to go see Slayer.
Yeah.
And I've probably seen them more than any other band that I've seen live. I've seen Slayer live more than anyone else.
Yeah. We've only seen the American tour builds. But Anthrax going out with Slayer. I mean, that's fucking huge.
Well, Anthrax is what? Anthrax, Testament, Behemoth.
Yeah.
It's just...
That's
and Lamb of God.
Lamb of God, of course, yeah. I don't know what that build's going to look like when it comes to Europe, but... If it's even half as good as that, that is phenomenal.
It will be, but it'll be nothing like that, will it? But it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think that particular set of bands are... Europe is an easier place to tour, basically, because we'll come out. It's touring the States is the one where you need to put these incredible builds together to get people to turn out. If you're at that Slayer level, and you want to play those slightly bigger places, but over here, Slayer pretty much know they can sell out bricks in the cafe.
Yeah.
So, where's the next step from there? Well, the next step from there is Wembley Arena. And Slayer are not an arena band.
Yeah.
They are a Bristol Academy band. So, there's no bill that they can bring over in the UK that is going to mean Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
So it's just a different market. It's a completely different market. But in the States, you've got 1,500 capacity, then you've got 2,500, 3,500, 8,000. There's plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
But here, I don't think it'll make a great deal of difference. I mean, it'll still be an awesome lineup, whoever it is. But hopefully, Acid Rain will be opening. I doubt it very much.
Second on the bill, surely.
Yeah, special guests. Slayer opening for us. Whatever. I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. So, how did you end up writing for Metal Hammer, Prog magazine, all the rest of it?
Well, basically, I just started writing about music because I'm just a massive music nerd, basically. I started writing about music about 7 years ago online. I wrote for a few blogs, and I joined Twitter, and people started to pick up on my reviews. People with some experience in the print industry and in the journalism industry. So Dom Lawson from Metal Hammer, who's the editor at large at Metal Hammer at the time, he's become a good friend now. He picked up on my stuff, got me a few interviews with people like Primus. I interviewed Les Claypool for Metal Hammer. Oh, he was so good.
He's a guy I'd love to get on the podcast.
Yeah. Just as a side note, the interview I did with him was about an hour long, but I was only writing like a 500-word summary of when they were doing the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory album that they did. I think it was about 2014 that came out. So there's so much of that interview that was never used. But it was basically me and him talking about all this weird shit, like Jodorowsky's Dune and Magma, and all this crazy esoteric drug fuel stuff that he's into, and none of that ever made it into this because it wasn't relevant to talking about chocolate bars.
But that's the beauty of the podcast.
Yeah,
that really
exactly.
Is, you can just roam all over the place.
Yeah, he'd be amazing to get on the podcast.
Well, I'm always keen to just have a chat with people. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it has to be prescriptive if you're working in print of any kind.
Yeah, you have a brief, and there's a certain line that you need to come up. You need to tread in order to get their news out because they've got a new album or a new tour or something like that. So you've got to make sure that line, the angle as they call it, you've got to make sure that you've got that angle. But there's so much stuff on the outside, the tangents that you go off, and that's where the podcast actually comes in.
Yes. Yeah. Because the thing, even if I've got somebody on a regular, on a press tour, as it were, I'll try not to ask about the new album. I mean, I might ask the odd question, but we'll try and get it out of the way very quickly.
Yeah.
Just because it's just the fact that you're on, people know that there's a new album.
Yeah.
So you don't need to spend half an hour to an hour talking about the new album. And also, the way I see it is, and having been on the other end of things, it's actually a relief.
Yeah.
Because if you're spending 8 hours for interviews for the new album, there comes a point where you catch yourself saying the same things just on autopilot.
Yeah.
And I'd like to try and be a little oasis, of let's just talk shit.
Yeah. You're very good at that, I have to say.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, sorry, we've sidetracked on Les Claypool there.
So I mean, that's how I started writing for Hammer. Dom Lawson picked up on stuff that I'd been doing on blogs, and then through him, he also writes for Prog, so he introduced me my work to people in Prog, and so I've been writing. I mean, I haven't done much for Metal Hammer in the last sort of 2 or 3 years. Everything's pretty much Prog these days. So you found your niche? Well, absolutely. Prog is my niche. I love Prog. I love metal.
Right. Okay. So here's the question for you.
Yeah.
Right. I've been having this discussion. Now, it would appear now that if you're a metal band and you write a song, and I think the threshold is 7 minutes.
Right.
Right? If you write a song, if you've got an album with a bunch of songs at 7 minutes or more, all of a sudden you're prog. So, right, Tool.
Yeah.
Prog or not? Discuss.
Well, it's not all about the length, as I'm sure you know, Howard.
Well, never had any problems in that department.
It's the quality. It's the.
Hang on, no, I've got to disagree here. Name prog bands who are knocking out albums that are full of 3.5 and 4 minute songs.
Not very many of them. Yeah, that's true.
Mastodon, are they prog?
Okay, right.
No,
they've shortened the length of their songs from Crack the Sky days.
Yeah.
But they've become the new album is a lot more prog than their previous two, because you had kind of cheerleader vocals on the last album, and The Hunter wasn't particularly prog.
I love The Hunter. I absolutely love it.
That's where they lost me, man.
Well, no, I liked Crack the Sky. Got me into Mastodon,
right? Okay.
And then I went back and I got into Blood Mountain, like that, great. And then The Hunter, I just thought was just fucking. This is Mastodon stripping everything down, and going, here's 12 songs, boom, that's it. And then once more around the sun, I was like, meh. But Emperor of Sand is that is in my top 5 of the year without a doubt.
Right, yeah.
But again, sorry, tangent man here. Tool, Mastodon. There's 2 examples of. Okay, so you've got your Metal Hammer hat on, you've got your Prog hat on.
Yeah.
Which magazine, which product are you interviewing which band for?
Right. Tool definitely goes in the Prog bucket.
It does it?
It does. And that's not because they
Undertone.
It's not because they got 15-minute long songs that go on seemingly endlessly and cyclically, you can hear the influences on Tool. You can tell that they've listened to Van der Graaf Generator. They're massive King Crimson fans. You can hear it.
But you don't get into prog by association, can you?
Well, no, you don't. But if you've taken those influences and made something of your own out of them, then that's no longer association. You've created your own niche in that particular prog genre.
They've become prog, haven't they? They weren't prog on Undertow. I think Anima, or however you want to fucking pronounce it.
Yeah.
I think at that on that album they started to kind of show their horns. There was there was intermissions on there and all sorts of weird shit.
That's true.
Longer songs.
Yeah.
And the next album, which I think is 10,000 Days.
No, Lateralus was the one after.
Of course. And Lateralus is just
Well, that's where the King Crimson influence came in, and then they went out on tour. King Crimson supported them across the States, which is just mind-blowing. Sorry, I should say Crimson is my favourite band of all time, so I probably talk about them a bit too much, more than I should. But you can hear on Laterals that they took the weird time signatures and the weird Robert Fripp intervals, and just, to use a cliche, they turned it up to 11 and just made it a lot heavier. Laterals is probably where they turned prog. I would agree with you that, Onum...
that's how you're pronouncing it, is it?
Well, that's how I'm pronouncing it today. Might be different. I would agree with you. It's not particularly prog.
No, but there's kind of like leanings in there.
Yeah.
But lateral aside, okay, so we've agreed on that. That's good. So, Mastodon, Metal Hammer or prog? Or full page feature of Metal Hammer, half a page in prog.
You nailed it there, yeah. They're more a hammer band in my view.
In the traditional sense.
In the traditional
covered
sense.
in tats. They're all, most of them have got long hair.
They're beardy bollocks,
yeah, absolutely. And Brent Hines can give it the old Judas Priest on metal, and I don't listen to metal as much as he likes.
Yeah.
And also, is it prog festivals you're playing? Oh no, that's right. You're touring with Gojira, not a fucking bunch of folk musicians.
Yeah. Well, Gojira are pretty prog as well. Yeah, we're into the whole what is prog thing.
That was where this started.
Yeah, but we've gone down the rabbit hole, H.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's the whole point. Eventually, we find a rabbit and kick the shit out, make a pie. But the thing is when you go down that, like now we're down that prog rabbit hole. Gojira prog. Right now Opeth are prog, aren't they?
I think they pretty much have been since Still Life.
Right, okay. I'm not an aficionado on Opeth. Mark, our drummer,
the fourth album,
loves them, but
they've embraced more of the 70s prog ethos on the last 3 albums.
Right.
Much to the chagrin of a lot of their fans.
Yeah.
But I think they've never hidden the fact that they're massive fans of Jethro Tull and classic bands like that, and Genesis. You can hear that in their music. It's more obvious now.
Yeah.
Opeth, definitely prog.
Right. Okay. We're agreed on that. That's fine. But other than Mastodon, Opeth, Tool, who's the other band we were just talking about? Gojira. Yeah. Now that's an interesting one, because that for me, I would never make that connection at all.
I think if you're a naive listener and you don't know much about metal or prog, for example, you would listen to that and go, okay, I can hear how that would be metal, because it's loud and it's obnoxious and it's in your face. But also, it's not a 4/4 beat. It's not. I don't know what to do with this. That's progressive,
right? So you're assigning certain beats, certain beats to prog as well.
Well, yeah, that certainly comes into it. I mean, time signatures and technical proficiency. Okay, if you want to add song length in there, then we can do song length. But basically, it's time signatures and technical proficiency would be the main calling card of a prog band.
So you say something like Call of Cthulhu is a prog song.
Yeah.
I'm going with you, because now we're going to enter the dangerous territory of bands who've done prog songs but aren't prog bands.
Yeah.
There's your first one. Metallica.
Metallica are hugely influenced by Rush. And Rush are one of the ultimate prog bands you could possibly think of.
Yeah, but I think they're more influenced by Motorhead.
And Diamond Head and Budgie. Yeah. Fair enough, but it's still there.
Oh,
I mean, Master of Puppets, the title track. That's prog. it goes through all these changes. It goes dynamic shifts, and changes in timbre. Yeah,
I mean, no flute, but you know.
I always thought it needed a flute. No, yeah.
Well, maybe they'd have a Grammy now if they had a flute on Justice for All.
Yeah, they could be riding on the crest of a wave now, couldn't they?
Couldn't they just? Very good. Yeah. They could have had a flute on one, you know, in the background there. Might have got that Grammy a year earlier.
Yeah, it's hard to play a flute when you've no arms over.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. It's hard to play drums if you're Lars Ulrich.
Meow.
Well, no, it's Malcolm mentioned on the Christmas podcast. He mentioned that he went to see him at the O2. He was thoroughly unimpressed.
Yeah,
so visually it was stunning.
Yeah.
But he said one song started and they got about 2 bars in, and James stopped the song and said, "Lars, do you want to decide what time signature the song is in?" And you know, now I've told that to a few people and they've laughed. Or gone, no, but for me,
that's tragic.
£100 a ticket or not,
yes.
50 quid a ticket. What I expect my musicians to be able to play the songs.
Yeah.
You know, now you can say what you like about Lars. Lars fans out there, Lars people who stand by him, you know, to the very end, and people liking whatever. You can say what you like, right? But the facts are, think of all your other favourite drummers and how often their bands have to stop playing a song and restart it because they are so badly out of time.
Yeah.
And the answer is none. Just one, Mr. Oldham. You know, prime example of no practicing means becoming shit. You know, it's just... So anyway, sorry, got off on a complete tangent. But yeah, that's why I was making that comment about Metallica. It was just like, that was just unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Just to go back to the Gojira thing.
Please do.
I was talking about, you know...
Look, you are in charge of this interview, that's quite clear, okay? You're better at this than me. So, wherever you want to go, wherever you want to steer it, you can go for it.
All right.
Just stop me disappearing down the rabbit hole.
Well, just to go back to talking about looking at from a naive listener's point of view, if you hear Gojira for the first time, it's heavy.
By the way,
it's
we don't
heavy.
mean you guys. He doesn't mean you lot. He doesn't mean you lot. He means naive listeners, okay? That's not you guys.
Yeah. No, you're good. Someone that isn't particularly a fan of metal, doesn't understand what prog is, they would hear that this is not a 4/4 beat. It's in your face. You know, they wouldn't really know what to do with it. But there's a really interesting YouTube channel which I've discovered a few months ago called Lost in Vegas.
Right. Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I have not. No.
It's two guys, they're two black guys. They're
okay. Yes. YYZ. I watched them.
They are hip hop fans.
Yes. Yeah. And you can see them, their reactions to listening to Slayer.
Exactly. They do reaction videos.
Yeah. And they've gone fucking huge.
The Megadeth Holy Wars video went over 1 million views the other day.
Right. Okay.
And it's just a delight to watch because I mean they love this stuff.
They've got no idea what it is.
They have no context for it, and they're always asking for information.
But I love the way they deconstruct it from a musician's point of view.
Yeah.
Like when they're deconstructing YYZ.
Yeah.
They just cannot stop themselves, can they? They keep stopping, going, "This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is like groove-tastic."
Yeah.
You know, and they're seeing it from a completely different musical angle. I mean, if any of you want to check out some of the stuff, I warn you, it's a YouTube rabbit hole, isn't it? You watch one video and it's just like it's like fucking heroin. Oh, that's some. Let's have some more. It really is it's great stuff.
It's so good.
So I just recently discovered it too.
It kind of reinvigorates my love of metal as well. When I see they're listening to Seasoned in the Abyss and they're going, "What the fuck is this? Well, you know, what's going on here?" And they have to stop it and they have to start laughing because it's just like, "Oh my god, that was so good, man! That was hot. That's fire!" And they have their own little catchphrases that you get to because they just want people to be free thinkers. They want people to come objectively at music. Don't have any baggage when you come and listen to this song by Metallica or whatever. Just listen to it for what it is. And if you come from a hip hop background or fucking country and western background, it doesn't matter. Listen to it, hear the artistry in it, and just enjoy it for what it is. And it's made me really kind of go back to when I first discovered, you know, Rain and Blood or Countdown to Extinction or something like that. And I go, whoa, Jesus. Yeah, I used to feel like that when I first heard it.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right. Because when you've been listening to something for 20, 30 years...
You take it for granted.
You take it for granted. And then you see these guys listening to it for the first time, and the points they're making, and you're thinking... Sometimes you think, well, I've always thought that. It's nice. It's nice to hear it again. But then they make other points. You go, yeah. Do you know what? That change is fucking amazing. And I've been taking it for granted. And now I think, right. Every time I listen to this song, I'm going to give that time change there. I'm going to give that the reverence that it's due. You know, instead of just letting it wash over me because I've heard it hundreds and hundreds of times. No, you're absolutely right.
But also, they don't have the terminology to talk about it. I mean, we understand
riffs.
Riff. We understand riffs and breakdowns and stuff like that. They just talk about this progression or this transition.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't matter. I mean,
the words are different, but they mean the same thing.
They mean the same thing, but when you kind of pigeonhole something and put a name on it, it takes away its magic. Whereas they're coming at it from the first time, this song has just gone from here to a complete 90-degree angle, and they're going, oh my God, did you hear that progression? And it's just like, it's fucking amazing, isn't it? You know.
Yes. I felt proud. I felt I felt proud of being a metalhead. You know, when I sat there watching them, listening to Angel of Death for the first time and stuff like that, and they're just absolutely freaking out. And I just realised I was watching it, and as I am now, with a huge smile on my face, just thinking like, this is, you know, we did that. Do you know? We did that as a community, as a metal community,
exactly.
Of which Slayer are a product of. That we did that. And
it has objective worth that can be looked on outside the community.
Yeah. It's almost like. Well, it's funny. I got a weird kind of satisfaction when. Not when Chris McGarel died, but the reaction to it when you saw, because you know, for me, it's like it's one of us. It's it's a metal dude, Soundgarden, you know, Audio Slave, it's a metal dude. And then when he died, to see the wide range of praise, you know, Elton John, and all of these like titans of the music industry, not of metal, but of the music industry as a whole, saying voice of a generation, voice of an angel, what an incredible. And it again, I was kind of proud. I was like, you know, he was in a metal band, but look at all the other stuff he did. Look how he crossed over. Look at what a great artist he was. You know, and for me, it was a case of the mainstream kind of going, you know, wow, and you know, it was always lead singer of Soundgarden. There'll be people who knew who he was, that he died, that have gone to check out Soundgarden. Because they wouldn't have been aware of that. And I just think that it's always awesome when metal is able to cross over and break out into that.
I mean, I think basically where everyone is insecure and we're all looking for validation, and if what you're talking about there is having the metal community validated by an other. And that's why social media is such a big thing. We want to have our points of view put out there and someone to like it or to retweet it, or we want to be loved, basically.
We also want to create the version of ourselves without any flaws, and unfortunately that's what social media does as well.
Because they're putting a veneer over your people's true emotions.
Absolutely. So it's personas. You know, it's called a profile, and it is exactly. It's not you. It's not who you are. It's who you want to tell the world you are.
But it's like Fish coming on stage on the Hammersmith Odeon on the recital of the scripture with face paint on. He's playing a role, but he's also hiding his true self so that he can project something different.
Well, it wasn't until he left Marillion that, and for a few years after, that it was like, well, it's Derek William Dick. Everybody knows who it is. You know, and you know, there was a period there where if you met him, it was like, well, do I call him Derek or do I call him Fish? You know, where it was almost like, well, he was standing on his own 2 feet. Now he was a solo artist, and he didn't really need to be that character with face paint on anymore. Although he'd stopped with the face paint by Misplaced Childhood. For those exact reasons, I remember him saying this. Well, he didn't want people coming to see him just to see the freak in the makeup.
Which
that sounds a bit like a bad decision as well.
But it didn't work either, because he's always been known as Fish from Marillion. He's never been known as Fish. He's never had his own real identity in the mainstream.
Well,
in the prog community, we understand who Fish is.
Yeah.
But, you know, if he's on Nevermind the Buzzcocks or something, he's always Fish from Marillion.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny you should say that about the prog community. Because when I went to see him recently, I was checking a few vids out on YouTube and everything, and the comments are just like, this guy's, you know, godfather of prog, a legend of prog, and it's just it's immense. It's really immense.
Yeah.
The you know, because a lot of people think his career pretty much finished after Marillion, but I mean, I've got a few of the solo albums. I've dipped in and dipped out of his solo career.
Yeah.
But some of his solo stuff at its best is
it's stunning. Some of it is stunning.
Sunsets on Empires is a
That's my favourite.
album.
Brilliant album.
That's a brilliant album. I mean, that and Vigil for me are, well, Vigil's the best album Marillion ever made.
Yeah.
But Sunsets on Empires is, you know, the Ballad of Johnny Punter. There's an album opener.
Yeah.
Although, funny enough, doesn't have quite the same impact if you listen to that song on YouTube, where the lyrics are different.
Right.
That incredibly incredibly powerful opening.
We're not going to recite it here.
No, we're not. The song is the Ballad of Johnny Punter. For you listeners, if you want to check it out, you can find it on YouTube. But the opening line, the really powerful opening line in lyrics, is censored on YouTube. But it's a completely different line. So the only way to track it down is either buy the song somewhere else or be able to stream it somewhere else, and you'll hear exactly what we're talking about. But have you seen how they started that tour?
No.
Live. There's a great video on YouTube. Because the song's called The Ballad of Johnny Punter. And the band, one by one, come on stage and they're just playing that riff. And the drummer's just tapping a hi-hat. And they just keep playing that riff. And all of a sudden, Fish comes through the audience. And he walks through the audience with a mag light.
Right.
Like a security guard. And of course he's fucking 6'4", he's bigger than everyone. But he's walking through the crowd, you know, we're talking like, you know, down the front, everybody stood up and he's just walking through them with a mag light, shining it at them like he's a security guard looking for somebody. With this big evil grin on his face. And then he just climbs up on stage. And the minute he climbs up on stage, it's like, you know, drummer counts everything in, and that fucking riff kicks in, and it's just
and that line comes out.
It's just huge. It's worth tracking down.
Nobody does menace from the stage like Fish did, and just an imposing, towering figure. You don't want to be the lad that gets grabbed by the lapels and pulled on stage and ripped apart.
No, or have him right up in your face like I did. Right. Again, I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that off mic.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing about that.
Because everybody here will have already heard the story when they listen to this. There's no point in repeating it. So one thing I did want to get as well, because this is obviously early in the year, it's a bit of a boring thing to do, so my apologies, is your highlights of 2017. Was there any standout albums for you, standout bands that you've discovered?
Right, okay, I wasn't expecting this one.
Right, okay, well, I like to keep everything unexpected.
I mean, one of the live highlights, there's a band called Big Big Train. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No.
They're very much a prog band. They don't really touch on metal at all.
Right.
Very much in the style of early Genesis.
Oh, right.
But the guitar player is Dave Gregory from XTC.
Oh, right, okay.
They played Cadogan Hall. I think it was about September, and that was just stunning. I think they sold out 3 days of that. They're a band that they're huge in the prog community, but again, nobody outside of the community would have heard of them because they haven't impacted on anyone else's lives. But we who love prog love this band, and so those gigs were very special.
Dig them out.
In terms of albums, we're on dodgy territory here, but Anti-Cult was the best album, the best metal album of last year.
Right.
And because of the accusations and the incarceration and subsequent release of Decapitated, I was not able to listen to that album for months and months.
Right. Okay.
This is, it's controversial. No one knows what went on, but they have been released, and I can now wear a Decapitated T-shirt without fear of someone accusing me of being a rape apologist. But it's for so long there. I've loved this band for years, but Anti-Cult is just the best thing they've ever done.
Right. Okay.
That was my favourite metal album of last year, and I'm glad to get the opportunity to talk about it again.
Okay, now, yeah. Well,
that's fucking intense stuff. Like you don't want one of your favourite bands to be accused of gang rape, and yet that's what happened.
Yeah, but by the same token, they didn't. The case was deemed as so weak it wasn't even worth taking to court.
Yeah.
So now I'm not saying. I think the whole thing is dodgy to talk about.
Well, as I said, no one knows what went on. So
yeah, absolutely.
Only the parties involved.
Yeah, and that's the way it's going to remain.
Yeah.
So did Emperor of Sound make it into your sort of top 10, top 5?
It didn't actually.
Really?
No. Weirdly, I love Mastodon, but the album, I listened to it and it just seemed a bit like Mastodon by numbers to me, and it didn't really impact on me very much.
Right. Okay.
I mean, stuff that I was listening to last year was the last Anathema album, and also the solo album by Danny Kavanagh from Anathema, which is just fucking amazing. The Roger Waters album.
Now, do you know what? I keep kicking myself. That's something I still haven't got around to.
I did my top 20 for Prog Mag, and Roger Waters hit number 2.
Wow.
It's
right, okay.
just so reminiscent of Final Cut and Animals on the Wall, but it's its own thing, and it's produced by Radiohead's producer, so it sounds really modern. Fantastic album.
Right, okay.
Definitely, you need to get your ears around that, and of course, it's completely anti-Trump as well. And it's God bless Rog. He just loves getting his oar in, doesn't he?
Well, he does, and the thing is that when I saw him bringing a new album out, I was like, wow, how many years is it since Amused to Death? Yeah. That is
like
a serious gap. Well, I remember when. Do you remember when 3D sound was a thing?
Yeah.
And Sony were pioneering it, and the idea was that if you
it was Q sound, wasn't it?
Q sound, that's it. And if you had your speakers set up just right,
you could hear the dog.
You could hear the dog
barking,
yes,
as if it was in the garden.
Yeah, I totally did that, and it fucking worked as well.
Yeah.
But the trouble is that nobody wants to stand in one place and listen to a whole album to get that effect the whole way through.
Yeah.
And as soon as you put headphones on, it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's like, so that was the end of that. But it was, that's awesome. The dog, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, okay, now it's behind me. That was
Get
brilliant.
down, chap.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. Well, I'll definitely chase up Roger.
Yeah,
because you're the second person who said to me, like, "Oh no, you've got to get that." Because Floyd for me is Floyd with Waters. I'm not really bothered after he left.
Same, pretty much the same. Yeah.
And I prefer his solo stuff since he left than the Floyd stuff.
Yeah. I liked Momentary Lapse of Reason.
It was alright.
It was alright, yeah. Division Bell, it sounds like subpar Dire Straits. I like Dire Straits. Sorry,
Yeah, you do need to be apologising for that.
It's alright, I have weird tastes. But subpar Dire Straits, just like, nah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Division Bell did nothing for me. I'm Used to Death, incredible. And
do you know what? I've just had an idea. I've just got to go. I've just got to go right back to our previous conversation.
Let's do this. We're
previous conversation about Prog. Yeah, death.
Yeah.
As in
Chuck Schuldiner.
human Human, because before that, no, not really prog, but Human, Stand and Perseverance, all of that era.
Yeah.
That's prog,
isn't it? It is.
It is. I was just thinking, yeah, isn't it? I was just thinking, fucking hell, I don't know where that came from. I do not know where that came from. But just a light bulb went off in my head, and I just thought, I wonder. Do you reckon? You think we'll put them in the prog bag that half of their career?
They're so fucking heavy though. They have to be in both buckets, don't they? You've got Chuck with his left foot in prog and right foot in metal. You can't really separate death from death metal. Say that they're prog, but they're certainly progressive death metal.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So, there was somebody else I was thinking about. Well, obviously, Dream Theater and prog. That's a given.
Yeah.
Is there really everybody into prog who's listening to Dream Theater going, that's too heavy for me? Really?
Nah.
You know, I don't know. They've really lost the metal edge for me. Funnily enough, I think since Portnoy's departure.
Yeah.
And the last albums, the double album. Oh dear.
I haven't even listened to that album. I saw the live show at the London Palladium, and it was good. It was enjoyable, but largely forgettable. I couldn't name you a song.
But they are very much unforgettable live. They always have been. It is just we're going to come out, stand here, play the songs. And I think that's what pretty much a Dream Theater audience wants. They can just stand in front of John Petrucci and jizz off for 2 hours and then go home.
Yeah, it's quite a masturbatory experience, it has to be said. But one of the best times I ever saw Dream Theater was in Hammersmith Apollo, when they came out for the second half and they played the whole of Dark Side of the Moon.
How was that?
You were there too.
I was there.
That was incredible. Yeah. And I have to say, John Petrucci...
The second night, because the second night they always do a cover album.
Yeah. But Petrucci did a phenomenal job of doing Gilmore's really tasteful and soulful guitar work. Because this is people can criticise Dream Theater for multiple reasons. But to say that they're technical without soul is not true. No. There is a lot of soul in that music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you have to dig through all the 64th notes and the weird time sigs to get at it. But when Petrucci wants to play a really gut-wrenching solo, like Lines in the Sand from... I can't remember the album. It's my favourite Dream Theater album as well. Anyway, Lines in the Sand. It's got like a 2 or 3 minute long guitar solo. It just builds and builds, and it's so soulful and beautiful. Gilmore would have been proud of it, but he wouldn't have been able to play the last minute of it because it's too bloody fast. But to criticise Petrucci and the band for not being soulful is just missing the entire point.
Also, I think the one person who gets forgotten about in Dream Theater is James LaBrie, who has got a fantastic set of pipes on it.
In the studio,
but to be fair, if you're gonna tour, and to be fair, they do tour. If you're gonna tour to that extent and play 3 hours a night, I mean, fucking hell, mate, not a chance.
Yeah, you can't keep that up.
I can do 2 gigs in a row.
Yeah,
it's just forget it.
No, fair point,
from one vocalist to from a vocalist to a proper singer. I mean, what he does is inhuman. I mean, it's fucking amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
And also the fact that he's getting older and he's still hitting those notes.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn impressive. That really
true.
is. Right. And I always kind of feel like he's forgotten about in that band.
Yeah.
But he's a phenomenal.
Which is weird, isn't it? Because he's the front man and he's the vocalist, and normally they when you think of the great bands, you think of Freddie Mercury and all.
He's been there for years as well. I mean, put it this way, it's hard. It's like Maiden. It's that hard a job. They had to get rid of the first guy. I actually saw Dream Theater's first ever UK gig in the Marquee.
Wow. Is that the one that was released as an album?
Oh, good lord! I didn't know.
I know that they did release a live at the Marquee, but that might have been the same.
Well, we're talking early 90s, so we're talking Images and Words was the new album,
right?
And they played their first ever UK gig at the Marquee, and I drove down with some mates from Newcastle to see the gig, and we were in the Marquee we were in the marquee. What's the word? Fucking lounge again. Foyer. That's the one. Thank you. We're in the foyer, and they've got TV screens up.
Right.
And I was listening and going, oh, they're playing Dream Theater over the PA, and then we looked at the screens and they were fucking playing. They were already on stage, so we piled through. We missed about half the first song, and they were fucking brilliant.
Right.
But that was when Images and Words came out, and everybody just went, whoa! There's even saxophone on one song. What the hell is this?
They're a bit up themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, I know. It's just like they're breaking every rule of metal.
When Dream Theater are good, they're phenomenal. There's some of their songs and some of their albums I absolutely adore. Like Train of Thought is
that is a
stunning progressive metal album.
It's a stunning metal album. Like you said, so fucking heavy. People wouldn't. If you're listening, by the way, and you think Dream Theater give a listen to Train of Thought. I mean, that album, fuck me. There is such heaviness on that album that people are listening who haven't, who just think of Dream Theater as like and all that. Train of Thought is at times it is brutal. That is the only word for it.
Yeah.
It is brutally heavy in places, and not just brutally heavy for Dream Theater, brutally heavy.
Yeah.
It's just no, you're absolutely right. That's just a touchstone of an album. Just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. God, I love that album. I'm gonna have to. That's not on my phone. I'm going to get that on my phone.
Yeah.
I know. I've got a show tonight. I'm going to put Train of Thought on the CD player. I'm going to try, and I will be driving to that show going, fucking hell, I forgot about this. Oh, I forgot about this. I forgot about this.
Yeah. Oh, what's the last song? In the Name of God, is that the one?
Yes. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that is heavy lyrically and in terms of the sentiment as well. Jesus, that's a piece of music. I think it's about 13 minutes long or something.
Well, yet again, and as a way of encouraging people to listen to it is when members of the band were drinking. As we all know, we like our musicians drunk and drugged up.
Yes.
Because when they get cleaned up, they release dog shit.
Well, I'm very much of Bill Hicks' view on this.
Yeah, you're pushing against an open door there with Bill Hicks, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That is, because then. Portnoy then went off down. I mean, when he was going through the 12 steps.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of the concept album.
6 Degrees of Separation, or 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence.
Oh, possibly. The one that's almost like a play, but it's.
Scenes from a Memory.
Yes, Scenes from, and it's like that's basically the 12 steps. It's just you go through it, and it seems from memory, and he's just asking for forgiveness, and it's like after a while you're just like, turn it in, mate. Really, seriously. Do you know what I mean? You can't make amends with everybody. You can't make amends with the bloke who runs a newspaper stand where you used to live, and you were nasty to him that time. It's just it's weird, isn't it? Because people get obsessed with their vices. And you hear all about it, and that's fun. It creates this wonderful stuff that we love. But then you hear about, people become obsessed with the cure, which is, either God or something else.
Oh, I thought you meant like Robert Smith.
Right? No, definitely not. And then you have to hear about how wonderful it is to be, to be clean again, or finding God, and just think, oh no, please. It's like when Queensryche released Empire after
Mindcrime.
After Mindcrime. Mindcrime is like this gritty, fucking, really incredible fucking metal album. And then you get Empire and songs like Jet City Woman, where it's like, I'll be flying home to my Jet City Woman. You just think, oh really?
Oh jeez.
Oh dear. Success has hit. It's
it's the devil's music, you've got to be a little bit evil and keep the evil in your life in order to keep the music good. Neil Morse, he's a progressive rock musician, a phenomenal musician, amazing keyboard player, singer, writer, but he was in Spock's Beard, and Spock's Beard did amazing work up until an album called Snow, and then Neil Morse found God, and he started writing very evangelical songs. He's written 2 concept albums called Testimony 1 and Testimony 2, basically about his discovery of Jesus. And fair play to you, man, because he was he was a borderline alcoholic, and he was having trouble in his life. And
So he swapped addictions, like most people do.
Well, yeah.
He swapped addictions.
Yeah. I'm happy that he's happy, but the music is just... Well, the music is still as good, but I just can't listen to it anymore.
Do you know what? Do you know the feeling I get from that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
It's like when your friends rock up with a new kid, right, their new baby. Right. Now, that's great, and I'm happy for you, but I don't need to hear it every time I see you. And it's that with the music. It's like, okay, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
But could you do a song about something else now?
Yeah.
Something that I can relate to. I'm, like I said, back to your best friends, I'm really happy for you. I like you, therefore I'm happy for you. But give it a fucking rest for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, we can walk, and can he? So can I. Big fucking deal. Do you know what I mean? Great, he'll be able to run soon, away from the police. It's just... I know exactly what you mean. It's just kind of like, you just start tuning out.
Yeah. I mean, if the music is still good as it was then I can still listen. But I fell out with that guy because I saw him do a gig, and his daughter... had a hole in her heart. And
physically or emotionally?
No, physically.
Right.
And apparently it was healed by God. It was nothing to do with the surgeons that helped to fix her heart. This was a divine intervention. And he stopped the song and started going on for about 10 minutes about how great God was for saving his daughter. Now, if that's what you believe, then fine, you believe what you want. But I love your music. Just play your music. I don't go to church because I fucking hate religion. I've had your gig. Don't fucking preach to me.
Well, what about... A, totally agree. And B, what about the guy in the crowd whose daughter with a hole in the heart died?
Yeah.
What was wrong with her?
Yeah.
She was fucking evil, was she?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Your
Keep it to
daughter
yourself.
had a better fucking surgeon.
Yeah.
No bad. Well, no, absolutely. Well, funnily enough, I thought you were going to go back to, I've fallen out with that band because... And I thought it's actually going to bring us right back to the beginning, because what we're talking about is lyrics and music again.
Yeah.
And how... The lyrics have changed over time and become one-dimensional and something you can't get on board with, and you've drifted away from that artist.
Yeah.
And there you go. I guess we're back to where we started, which is a lovely point to wrap things up. Where lyrics are important. So fuck you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Not my greatest moment. Well, look, Chris, it's been great having you on. Thanks very much for your time, and congratulations on your news.
Thank you.
And look, really appreciate it. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely, be a pleasure.
Nice one, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers, H.
Cheers.
And that was quite the chat, wasn't it? Quite the conversation, disappearing up all sorts of alleyways there. But really good to catch up with Chris. And I've since actually managed to meet up with him a few times. In fact, he's come along and done the pub quiz that I do. Funnily, so first time he was there, we had some bottles of wine to give away, and I put a question out to everybody. Can anybody name a punk metal industrial band from Quebec, Canada? And of course the whole room was just completely like, huh? And Chris just sort of puts his hand up slowly and goes, Voivod? Really convincingly, like, I'll just put this very, very, very good. So, always nice to be able to give people free things that you know. Speaking of which, free things. This podcast is free. It is completely free. Or you can also, if you're a really, really nice human being, you can go to patreon.com/Howard H. Smith and bung me $5 a month, or £3.70 as it works out in real money. And that would be really cool. That would help me to continue to do this. That would help me keep the advertising off the podcast. But do you know what I've decided? Do you know what is coming back? Do you know what is going to be happening? I'll tell you what. I am going to do I'm going to put a song on the end of the podcast. I'm going to start putting music back on the podcast because fuck it, why not? Not going to ever make any money off YouTube, so I can handle all the copyright infringements that I like. Fuck it, why not? Why not indeed? So, there is going to be a song coming at you in a minute. For those of you that are signed up on Patreon, there is loads of stuff coming out as usual on the 1st of the month. There will not be a podcast extra straight away because I can't fucking record it. This has been cobbled together like a fucking patchwork quilt. So you would not believe the problems behind the scenes here. But as soon as I've got my laptop up and running, I will be putting the podcast extra out. That will come out to all you Patreon listeners. Sooner rather than later, as soon as I can get a fucking working computer, frankly. But anyway, look, going back to just thank you very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been 2 long old interviews there, so it's a decent chunky podcast. I hope you all appreciate that. I know you appreciate it. Okay, and the Beyond special will be coming this month. That is a 3-hour. That's another 3-hour special. Although I'm going to label it up for you quite easily because there is basically the first hour is myself and Godless on the road on the M1 to Derby. The second hour is me and the whole of the Beyond for about 10 minutes. Then John the singer has to leave and myself and Andy, Jim and Neil carry on for the rest of the hour. So, and then there's an hour the following day of Godless and I doing a podcast on the M1 from Derby back to London. So yeah, you know, fuck you, Jerry Seinfeld and your comedians in cars. I'm going to do talking metal in cars, and fuck it. Yeah, that's my idea. I'm putting that out there. Hope you enjoy though. I really, really enjoyed doing it. It sounds pretty good as well. I've got, clip mics now, so I hung the clip mics over the, sun visor, so we both had a mic just hanging down in front of us, so you know the quality of the recording is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, look, that's a special. That's coming later. And the extra podcast for all you extras, that's coming soon. And just look, thank you very much, everybody. You know I love doing this. You know I love you all. My night with Howard H. Smith, essentially talking bollocks on the road, up in Glasgow at Audio. That is the club Audio. It's called Audio in Glasgow. Still got some tickets left for my show on the 1st of April. So if you feel like getting your asses in gear and sorting that out, that would be marvellous. It'd be good to see you. So finally, it's just... thank you as always, wherever you're listening to this, wherever you're bouncing about. It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. This time, not so much, gotta be honest, this has been a pain in the fucking arse sorting this podcast out. It's still not sorted out. I'm sat here jabbering away to a tiny little fucking tablet. It's just doing my head in, then I've got to upload all of this and get it across to Craig, who can hopefully piece it together, and we can get this motherfucker out there before the end of the month, because I've never ever missed a month, and I really don't want to miss this one. So that's it. That's the final to do. Just wanted to say that in honour of the special coming up this month, that is the Beyond, I wanted to put a little Beyond track on the end. So I have, and this is one of my favourite songs of theirs. It's off the first album, Crawl, which was a classic. They were brilliant, by the way, but I'm going to talk more about that in the special rather than on here. So, here you go, from the album Crawl, this is The Beyond, and One Step Too Far.
your friend.